Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages, and everything in between. You know who it is. It is the kid, Unc Just, aka Uncle Pizza, the pizza freak, always resonating at the pizza frequency. I love talking about pizza. I love making pizza, but mostly I love sharing pizza with people that I give a ship about. Yes, literally, breaking bread with mother stinkers that I care about. And I have a sneaking suspicion. I'm going to take it back to two. I have a sneaking suspicion that you two, my friends, you also resonated said pizza frequency. Or why else would you be here? And where is here? Here we are. Slow Rise presents in 11 Foods Instant Sourdough, class number. I don't even know what number this is. This is like 6, 7, 8 we've done. We've done Neapolitan, Neo-Neapolitan, New York, deep dish pizza, and now we're doing extra high hydrato, 85%. You know the deal. Here we are, back again. It's good to see everybody on the Zooms. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you've never been here, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We are a bunch of dough dorks and pizza geeks. We like getting into the nitty gritty, the minuscule details in there, right? Take your notes, get your crayons, get your pencils, Mortimer. So I'm really excited today. 85% hydration. I believe Noel's going to be using the Ooni Volt yet again. However, we're going to do a switch up today. Just got the word. So we're going to do a bake first, and then we're going to do the mix. So Noel's going to do a couple bakes in the old oven. So this is pretty exciting stuff. You know, what we're doing in these classes, we're focusing on using the microbes, the Leaven Foods microbes, either the instant sourdough or the all-purpose microbes. And you can always go to the Leaven Foods. I was talking to Jimmy, their website, and all the recipes that we've been doing, the Neo, the Neapolitan, the Neo, New Neo, the New York, the pan pizza, now the extra hydration, high hydration, all those things are on the Leaven Foods websites. You know that I will put it in the chat so you guys can check it out if you're planning on ordering some of the microbes. I had a chance to hang out with Jimmy and Cam a couple weeks ago, and Noel, not so much Noel because he was busy running around. At the California Edison, we had a mini. It was called Pizza Fest of the West, but we had a lot of fun. There were a lot of different ovens there. Noel and I'll chit chat on that. Got to see the man, the myth, the legend, aka Pizza Lee, Mr. Lee Hunsinger, the doctor of pepperoni. He does his like pepperoni jam. It was great to see him. You know, he's not working. I don't think he's working in Texas at Thunderbirds and stuff anymore. But he is working with Pizza Master, so you can be assured of a great product with his pizza coming out of a really nice, professional oven, and that's always fun. So got a chance to see those, worked on some of the conveyor belt ovens, worked on some, just a bunch of different fun things. And Noel was running around using Leaven Foods to bake in each of the different booths, and really got to see how each new oven affected the bakes and how it worked. And I tell you, the technology, and I said technology, that is coming out of there it's leaping and bounding. I think Noel and I'll get back to this, but there was an oven that was cooking a Detroit pizza in like 6 minutes. I didn't try it because I'd already eaten too much pizza. I was over there snorting Lee Hunsinger's pepperoni slices with the pepperoni jam. But yeah, 6 minutes. I don't know. That must be a record. I don't know. But guys, I'm really excited. Look, here's what we're going to do. If you have questions, go ahead, throw them in the chat. Noel and I will get to them, or Jimmy will come on in the beginning, in the end. This is a long mix. It's a high hydration, 85% hydrato mix. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know things are kind of crazy right now, but we're focusing on the pizza, right? Because we want to bring people together. We want to break bread with people that we care about. So focus on that. Here we go. Without any further ado, I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, Blue Bell of Pizzaness. Don't make a big deal out of it. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Slow Rise. No, I got it. Mr. Slow Rise himself. Noel Slow Rise Pizza. Brohner. Noel Brohner, if you're there with your new computer and new operating system. Justin!
What is going on?
Oh gosh, do you want me to answer that or
I mean, I would like you to answer that, but I'd like you to answer it quickly because we got a lot to do today, and my dough is over fermenting by the second.
well then
Are
I'll
we in
keep
a
it.
heat wave or what?
It must be because the other night I was doing my pizza and we accidentally left the refrigerator door open. So by like the pizza kind of went up and then it just went really down. And by the end of the night, I was trying to shape some dough and it was just it just ripping through my fingers and I was it was, we just had to very gently be so gentle with the dough. Luckily, I had that conveyor belt the conveyor belt peel, so I can take my time and I can be very gentle and try to rescue it. But I was doing dough sutures. My wife is very good at dough sutures. When you cut off a little bit of the crust and you put it in the middle, hey, look, but we can talk about me and, what's going on in the world at a later date. How are you doing? I was trying to tell these fine folks that last time you and I got a chance to hang out, you were doing the dance with all these professional ovens over at the electric company. Can you quickly talk to me about what we were doing over there?
Yeah, so we did a second annual event at SoCal Edison in Irwindale. And Los Angeles is so big that everybody that I tell who lives or maybe is even born in Los Angeles that I went to Irwindale, they always say the same thing. Where's
What
that?
was it? I have no idea. I was
Nobody knows.
there and I had no idea where it was.
No. So it was an awesome event, and I always refer to SoCal Edison as the Noah's Ark of electric kitchen equipment.
Mm,
They don't have two of everything, they have 10.
yeah.
So 10 pizza ovens, 10 electric fryers, 10 combi ovens. There's so many different ovens these days, and they've got ventless ovens, they've got rapid cook ovens, and so we cooked pizza using 4 different doughs in 15 ovens over the course of 4 hours.
4 hours? Yeah, 4 or 5
And we
hours.
we were we had like a big team, and we were stopping at each of the booths for only 20 minutes and
Yeah.
trying to interview people, get the specs on the ovens, get as many pizza doughs into each oven, and it was actually really fun. But also, we were winging it. We were
Yeah.
winging it,
It was nice. I mean, it was a lot, but it is like you said. It's just really. I mean, you turn around and the technology has jumped twice. I mean, I think that that's
right?
just
Right?
the going rate these days. Yeah. So,
I gotta
um,
say, before this event, I was skeptical about a lot of those ovens that
mhm.
cook with a variety of technologies. Right? They've
Yeah.
got infrared, they've got impingers, they've got microwave, they've got direct heat, indirect heat. I mean, we were cooking respectable Detroits in 6 to 8 minutes.
I mean that was pretty. I didn't. I know we talked about that, and I mentioned it to these people. I mean, it seems crazy. I didn't get a chance to eat that one. It looked like it had good color, but I wasn't sure. The gum line and all that stuff on the bottom. But I mean, that's one that I wish we had a chance to try. But
Yeah,
even the technology is there. I mean, if you're cutting down your bake times, if you're doing a straight no par bake, and you go from 15 minutes or whatever it is to 6.5, like
right.
that's pretty bold. Even 8 minutes on,
So we had an 85% hydration dough that we were serving at the Leaven Foods booth, and that was a sourdough, the same
right.
one we served at the Pizza Expo. And then I brought 4 doughs with me. We had like a straight up New York dough around 65. Actually, I bumped it up to 70% hydration. We had a nice pan pizza dough. We had a par baked like 90% hydration dough, which worked really well for the ovens that were like set up for reheats, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that was your buddy James from King Arthur?
That was my buddy from King Arthur. Jonathan Ang is his name.
John, not James. Jonathan.
Yeah, he's
John O.
he's an artisan baker, hardcore,
Yeah. Yeah, he
hardcore.
he had he was sitting on a bunch of those par bakes and they were delicious.
They were great.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a wonderful event. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody who showed up.
Yeah.
So today, this is going to be the last class, at least for now, in a series where we started with Neapolitan at a very low inclusion rate. Then we went to Neo-Neapolitan at double the inclusion rate. Then we went to New York at double the inclusion rate. Then we went to Pan Pizza at double the inclusion rate. And now we're going to be doing the high hydration at again double the inclusion rate.
Inclusion rate. That's what
So
we say. This is the high hydrado.
so let's just talk about inclusion rate real quick for
Okay.
people who haven't been with us. I see a lot of the same names in the as attendees. So originally let's see. Let's start in the middle. All right.
Okay.
So 2 classes ago, we finally got to New York, and that's the equivalent of about 10% Levain or 0.1% IDY.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yep.
Before that, we were doing Neo-Neapolitan, and that was at about 5% Levain or 0.05% IDY, which ain't much IDY,
No.
right?
No. No. No.
Before that, we were doing Neapolitan, right? And that was at about 2.5% Levain or 0.025 IDY,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. The math, I understand. I kind
All
of.
right. So then let's walk forward from the New York. So the New York was about 10% Levain, zero point 0.1 IDY. We doubled that for the pan pizza, which I thought came out beautifully.
Yeah,
In
it looked
fact,
great.
in fact, I believe James cooked one up at his place, and he really loved it.
And we also, just so everybody knows, we do have that recipe that we did for the pan pizza is now live on the Leaven Foods.
Yeah.
And James was nice enough to you can always check the mix that Noel did if you're mixing in the Ooni or what James has. And if you haven't checked it out yet, he's got videos to help you along. Overhead videos with a KitchenAid mixer there too, and I'll put that in. I'll make sure that that gets in the old chat here in a little bit. But just wanted to let everybody know.
Yeah. So let's see here. I think that in a perfect world, how do we do this? How do we do this?
What are you trying to do?
Well, I'm trying to do a lot of things. The first thing I'm trying to do is figure out how I'm going to make the camera work, because one of the things I'm doing is I'm set up right now for a mix, and I've got my camera set up, but I'm going to have to move the mixer out of the way temporarily because we're going to bake pizza first.
That's right. That's right. You told me we were going to do it.
So we are going to do it. So let me get at least myself plugged in, and then so from the pan pizza, which I really like. Now we're doing the equivalent of, what can we call it?
What are we doing?
Let's call it the high hydration bread and pizza dough. You can use it for Roman style pizza. You can use it for bread. You can use it for pizza alla palla. You can use it for pizza al taglio or integlia, pardon my Italian. You can use it for so many beautiful things. It's been my go-to dough for many, many years, and I just love it. But it is hard to work with. It's very sticky. It's also, at 40% inclusion rate or the equivalent of 0.4 IDY. It's a lot of yeast. It's a lot of yeast.
0.4.
So in the 0.4 equivalent of IDY or 40% Levain.
Okay.
That's a lot of Levain, wouldn't you say, Justin?
It sounds like a lot of Levain to me.
Yeah. And you would know because you've been getting into it, haven't you?
I've been getting a little dirty. I feel like I'm using 40%.
Are you?
Right now? I think so.
For your pizza?
Yeah, but I could be wrong.
Wow.
I think
right.
it's 40%.
All
I still get confused whether it's 40%
Justin,
of the
we all
flour
get
or
confused. That's why
40%
we're
of
all
the whole
working
dough.
together. That's
Thank
why
goodness.
we're working together.
Thank
all right?
goodness. Thank goodness.
All right, so let me tell you what I'm doing here. I apologize for not doing the mix first and then doing the bake, but I got some dough here that's ready to go.
That's the other day. It was falling through my hands. It's hot in San
Yeah,
Mon.
no, it's hot. It's hot. And so, what I like to do is, because I live in Santa Monica, it's usually it's in like the high 50s at night and maybe the low 60s. I like to bulk ferment my dough on my patio, right? And then bring it in the morning and shape it and just let it get up to temp. And it usually works beautifully. But last night it was just a little bit warmer than it should have been, and this morning it was a lot warmer than it should have been. And I was running around, and I kept looking at it, and I'm like, it looks good, looks good. And all of a sudden, it starts shooting up.
That's right.
I mean, let me show you what I got. Let's do this, Justin.
You gonna turn on the old vid? Hey, I think you might need to make me a co-host. Feel like somewhere in there my co-host got dropped because I was the host, and then I'm trying to figure out how to get my friends over here to be able to post in the. There it is.
There we go.
There
all
it
right,
is.
so
Attendees can chat with everyone.
We're gonna move a few
panelists
things
can
around.
chat with everyone.
All right, so let me show you what we got today. And so I've got 3 doughs that I made yesterday. Let me show you 2 of them. These are about 750 grams. Look at those bubbles.
Oh,
Look at
look at
those
those.
bubbles.
Say, make my bubs bounce.
Now, here's the thing: when your dough starts bubbling like that, you don't wanna say, "Oh wait, let me give this another hour or
Yeah,
two."
I'm gonna put it back in the fridge.
No, that dough is ready to
Don't do
go.
it. Don't do it.
So, I mean, and here is the 450 gram version of that same little guy. And
Wow.
I'm going to dump that into a 9-inch pan, which
Okay.
you can use for lots of things. And I'm going to make my wife an actual pizza. So we're going to do 2 loaves of bread and we're going to do 1 pizza. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty darn good. So just real quick, when did you take those out? How long have they been sitting? When did we mix those? Just give me the rundown real quick.
Yeah, so let's see. Yesterday, I mixed these in the morning.
Okay.
And that was 11:30 in the morning, and I let them sit out for about hour and a half. It was also warm yesterday morning. I did 2 stretch and folds after the mix,
Okay.
right? And then into the fridge,
Okay.
right? And then when I got home last night, I was like, let me move it from the fridge outside. So usually that's a jump from about 40 degrees to maybe 55.
55. Okay.
Yeah, but it also takes a lot of time. That dough, especially when you're using sourdough or wild yeast, it takes a long time for the dough to get up in temperature,
Hmm.
right? So when I woke up this morning, which is around 8, I looked at the dough and I was like, whoa, this stuff is happy.
It was
Let me divide it early, right? And we should be good. But the temperature in my apartment was about 10 degrees hotter than usual,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Usually it's breezy, right? It's June gloom. What is it? June 23rd, June gloom.
Not
No
not
June gloom. Not
not today.
today, not yesterday, not the day before. I hear the East Coast and the Midwest are having a heat wave. I didn't know we were going to have a heat wave. So I did the mix. I did the bulk retard in the fridge. Brought it out last night, right, to do like a cool proofing. Still retarding technically, but you know. And then I shaped it this morning, and I did 2 at about 720, and I did 1 at 450.
Okay.
All right, so those are 2 720s that I'm going to bake as bread, just with a little bit of olive oil and Maldon salt. And then the other pizza I'm going to make for my wife, and we've got some onions because she's from Argentina, and olives. That's a classic. And we've got some beautiful cherry tomatoes from the farmers market. 'Tis the season for
Yeah.
cherry tomatoes.
Nice. So you balled them. Did you ball them? Did you ball the round the same way as you balled the bread? Okay.
Everything round.
Okay.
Everything
Great.
round.
Okay. And then they just sat out after you balled them all day, or did they go back in to the
You know,
cold at all?
usually no, I don't like to put them back in. I usually
Okay.
like to do a nice room temperature rise, but when it gets this warm, you get into trouble. And so I was thinking, all right, maybe it'll work. I moved the dough into my coolest house, the coolest part of my house, and even the coolest part of my house was warm.
Okay.
So
So they've been
when
setting out since 8 o'clock this morning.
yeah, and let's
Yep.
let's just look one more time.
Yeah.
When you have bubbles like this, you see those things?
Yeah. I'm gonna spotlight that for
Yeah, when
everybody.
you have bubbles like this, it's time to make bread.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is fully fermented. I wouldn't call it over fermented because usually when it's over fermented, you'll see the bubbles actually starting to deflate or pop. So that's not happening.
Okay.
So, but here's what is going to happen. So when I make my first bread dough, I'm gonna use some parchment paper. I'm gonna turn it over onto the parchment, and I'm gonna dimple it, hit it with a little olive oil, a little Maldon, slide it into the oven. You'll help me with about a 25 minute bake at 500, right? While we're doing that, we'll get set up for the mix, right? We'll probably do another bread, and then we'll do a pizza, and then we'll do the mix. All
Sounds
right.
good. Sounds good.
So, in terms of the mix, let's see. There's the website I think just generally calls for King Arthur all-purpose. King Arthur bread flour, which depending on the season comes in around maybe 12 and a half, maybe 12.8, right in that range percent of protein. It's not a high protein bread flour, but it's not a low protein bread flour like the all-purpose. It works great. I like to mix it up a little bit. So I've got some Cairnspring Trailblazer, which is between 13 and 14. I've got some Cairnspring Sequoia, which I think you use. That's the all-purpose, which is about 11 and a half. And I've got some Glacier Peak, which is actually pretty high,
Those are
13
my
and a half.
mix. That's my
Yeah.
mix. Trailblazer, Glacier Peak, and Sequoia.
Yeah, so the flavor is absolutely fantastic. There's no whole wheat in this. It's like some Type 85s and I think a Type 70. So there's some good, it'll get some good color, some good flavor, but it's not going to make people say, oh, why are we eating healthy pizza? It's
Right,
just
right.
just delicious.
You're getting it in there, but you're fooling the kids. Okay,
Yeah.
so just in the chat, guys, the recipe, the pan pizza dough, that was the one we did 2 weeks ago. I'm going to go ahead and put the one that we are doing tonight. And Noel, just real quick, whoop, okay, that's this one. So can you just talk to me real quick? This one says high hydration Roman pizza bianca, wild yeast only.
Yeah, so we have two products on the market right now. We have an all-purpose sourdough and a wild yeast. What I've been doing is actually combining the two. I do about, let's call it 40% wild yeast and let's say 60%, 40% sourdough and let's say 60% wild yeast, because there's certain things I like about both. I like the flavor that I get from a little bit of sourdough, but for a high inclusion rate like this, which is 40% levain or 0.4 IDY, I don't want the dough to get too sour. And with pizza that could sit for a couple of days, it has the potential of doing that.
Okay.
So I like to mix it up. Also, I've noticed that in pretty much all of the recipes that we've been doing for the last couple of months, I've pretty much been focusing on the all-purpose sourdough. And I thought, you know what? At Pizza Expo, we did a wild yeast version and we did a 50-50 mix, or give or take a mix of wild yeast and also all-purpose sourdough. I just wanted to go for the wild yeast this time.
Okay.
I like the browning, and also for people who are used to, James has done a lot more of this than I have, that are used to commercial yeast. When you do a side by side, you're going to get better flavor, better color, better aroma. I happen to like the browning that I get.
Okay.
On this stuff. And so I've been playing around lately with, usually I need a little bit of Type 85 to get extra browning, or some olive oil or some sugar, right? Malt, none of that stuff. None of that stuff. So the
Great.
wild yeast is really good for that. All right. So let me show you. I'm just going to show you what I've got, and then we're gonna get some baking going. All
Okay,
right.
sounds good.
So I have some flour here.
Oh, whoops! Here, I turned off your video. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll show it this way.
Okay.
So I've got what should be 1,000 grams of flour, but because I'm using a pouliche with that's 400 grams, 200 grams of flour and 200 grams of water, I pulled out 200 grams of flour from my 1,000 grams.
So you have 800 grams of flour, everybody.
That's right. And then I usually would have 850 grams of water, but I had to pull out 200, so I only got 650.
Great. And
then,
what temperature is that water, bud?
I don't know. It's pretty hot. I actually put it in the fridge for a second, just in case. And you know what I might do, since you brought it up?
Yeah, put it back in the fridge.
I might put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Yesterday my dough came out pretty nice, right around, I'll tell you exactly, 83 degrees, which is perfect, between 80 and 85. But it's a little warm in here, and I got my oven on today, so we don't want anything going too crazy, all right? So let's do this, Justin. Let me move a few things around, and we'll get to baking. Now, these bakes are going to be about 20 minutes long, so we'll have some time to go over a few things while we're doing that. It's going to be a little different format than what we're used to. I wish that I had enough room so that I could actually be mixing and actually be. Maybe we can. Maybe I'll show you the pizza in my laptop, and maybe we'll turn the mixer around. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. So for right now, I'm going to show you one of my cheats. So I used to bake. In my home oven, let's turn is my dough cam on?
No, I need you to hit it. You should have a prompt on your screen. There it is. Got it.
You got it?
Good to go.
All right. So what I used to do is cover my pizza peel with flour and semolina. And I used to bake and get it into the oven. But because I'm baking at home and I don't have a hood, I would always set off the smoke detector, which is not my favorite way of operating. So when I was baking at home during COVID, my wife was always here, and it was her job to stand in front of the smoke detector with a towel or a broom and fan it and turn it off. But you know what? She's out of here. She's. So I gotta do my own thing, Justin. I mean, I'm on my own. So
Big
here's my,
boy,
my
big
little
boy.
my little cheat is I'm gonna take a little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna kind of like put it on the parchment, and then I'm
Okay.
gonna dump my dough out of the third pan container right onto
Just
this
right
beautiful
onto the
piece of
parchment.
parchment. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And so in a perfect world, we will bake on the parchment. This is a good home hack for
Yep.
maybe the first 10 minutes of the bake. You only really need to do it for 5, but usually it takes about 5 minutes to get all the oven spring you're going to get. And then
Okay.
I like the bottom to set before I pull the parchment out and let it finish right on the hearth. All right.
Smart. Yep.
And then remind me of this. I've been getting a lot of heat. I'm using these Lloyd pans, these
Hmm.
beautiful Lloyd pans, and so um, what I've been doing so I don't burn these is I only bake them on the hearth for 15 minutes, then I move them up and finish them.
Yeah.
All right. So make sure you remind me to do that because I don't want to forget. All
Right.
right. So let's see. Here's what I'm going to do, Justin. I'm going to take this first guy right here. All right. So this is my beautiful dough. We've seen it before. We'll see it again.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Lots of bubbles. So I'm as gently as I can. I'm just going to turn it upside down. Now I'm not trying to like.
Mm-mm.
I want it to drop as gently as possible. Right?
Allow the dough to do the do-si dough. Enable
That's
the
right.
dough to be as good as it can be. Don't
That's
be going
correct.
in there. Don't spend a lot of time letting it
That's right.
chill and ferment and
Good.
party. Don't
Right.
be in there getting too pokey. You
So
want those
I'm
bubbles.
letting it drop. I'm letting it be as gentle as possible. Also, just for people who haven't taken our classes before, we have a couple of classes where we do Roman style pizza. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to put the dough ball into the container, seam side up, so that when you turn it over, right, you've got the seam side down. And I put a little bit of olive oil in the container. So now let's see what's going on here. Good. So, couple of things. Usually, when you do a next day dough, this dough needs to be kind of forcefully pushed down. But because of the level of fermentation on this guy, I'm barely going to dimple it.
No.
I think because otherwise, what'll happen is that you're not going to get the beautiful oven spring that you want, right?
Right.
So this dough looks like it's kind of a shaggy mess, but because of the intense mix that we're going to give it, right? Because of the long bulk, because of the very careful shaping, I think it's going to actually be beautiful. So let's do this. Let's hit it with a little bit of California olive oil.
You're gonna pop that bubble right there on the front.
I am not.
Gonna keep it. Let it
Make
burn, baby. Burn.
burn, baby, burn. And let's see. I did have a towel, which is right here, which I'll use. So I'm just going to very carefully. Ooh, it's so sticky, so beautiful. So I am real on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm pushing at like a 1.5. Usually
Okay.
I'm pretty forceful. But I think this is going to be beautiful. And so one of my favorite things to do is work with a high hydration dough that's very well fermented. I'm going to get a little bit of Maldon salt out. Actually, this is James's Maldon salt.
Jimmy's
He
malt on.
he stole all my lids when we were in Vegas, and I stole
Oh
his Maldon
man.
salt.
Oh, that's that.
Actually,
That'll learn him.
it's not. He's an honest thief. He didn't do it on purpose. We had a lot packed. And actually, I think this is the Maldon salt from Pizza Forum at Irwindale a couple of weeks ago. So
There you go.
sorry, James. I got all your Maldon salt. You got all my lids.
Wax and wane.
All right. So let's do this, Justin. I'm gonna.
25.
Yeah. Let me make a note because you know how I am. I always like to record times and temps. What time you
Please.
got?
I have 5:29, so let's go
All right.
5:30.
5:30. So let's do this. Let's plan on doing about a 20-minute mix. I'm gonna start. Sorry, 20-minute bake. I'm gonna start my timer. I'll be back in 10 seconds, maybe 20.
Okay, starting it. What up, Ez? Good to see you. Hope things are good in FLA. Things are all right. It could be the light. I do wear my hat, so I'm trying to. You guys see if I can get rid of my sunburn here. Got this new light. There, I'm real sunburned now, huh? How's that? Huh? A little bit better? Hopefully not too sunburned. Oh man.
All right, so Justin, here's my plan. Ready? We're
Talk to
kind of
me.
winging it. We're kind of winging it, but I think it's going to work. So we got about 20 minutes on that guy right there.
Mhm.
Maybe you let me know in about 10, and maybe I'll remove the parchment underneath, and I might turn it around because usually the back of my oven is a little hotter than the front,
Okay.
right? So in about 10 minutes we'll do that, and then what I think would be really cool is while we're waiting, let me get my round pizza going for my wife. Right? Again, she's from Argentina, and in Argentina they do a thing with
Loves those
onions,
onions.
onions and olives. That's their jam there, and it's a white pie, no tomato sauce, right? And it's fantastic. So
So you're gonna will you be able to move that dough over after 10 and put the pan in
I don't think I'm
next
gonna
to it?
I don't think I'm gonna move it over. I think I'm just gonna show you how I pan it,
Okay.
right? Super gently, and how I top it. And I'm gonna be using three different cheeses from Ferndale Farmstead.
Right.
I'm gonna use the grated mozzarella. It's a really nice version of mozzarella that I'm really enjoying. I'm gonna use I would call it a medium sharp provolone, also grated, and I'm going to use their parm, and it's a super mild parm, and I've been using it on a lot of things, and it's really pretty delicious. So thank you to Ferndale Farmstead, and thank you to Karen for fronting us all this flour and all this cheese,
Great.
right?
Man, I
And
got to get
so
on that tip, huh?
yeah, you do. We all do. So,
Come on.
I mean, things are going well. So hopefully there'll be more of this. But I
Good.
think this is the last class for a while because we wanted to get a certain number of classes,
Under
into
the
the
under the belt, under the
yeah, and
belt,
also
in the
we got
mix.
work to do, Justin. I know you do.
Hey ho.
I know you do. So let's
Whoa,
do
whoa,
this. Let's
whoa.
do this. Let's look at this pan right here. So this is about a 9-inch pan here
Hmm.
and about a 10-inch pan here,
How
right?
high? How high are the sides?
Maybe an inch and a quarter,
1.5. Yeah.
inch
Well,
and a
okay.
quarter.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so they make two versions of this pan. They make a straight sided and they make a stackable. And these ones, stackable is not the term they use. They're called
Nesting.
stackable nesting pans. Thank you. So this is a beautiful nesting pan that I really like. And I'm going to give it a little olive oil.
I'll put the Lloyds in. I'm sure everybody knows Lloyd pans, but
Yeah. So I use these for bar pies. That's why I have them. And my wife, the Argentinian style pizza that they do in Argentina, they use the pans are a little bigger than this, but what's really cool is they actually cook their pan pizza in a wood-fired oven, which is something that you don't see in too many places besides Argentina. So, well, I've been there a few times and I enjoy it. So, but I don't want to say it's a step up from Argentina, but we do a lot more fermentation. Theirs is usually a same day dough, right? They're not using James and Cameron's wild yeast. We are, for sure. So have a look at that. Can you see it?
oh yeah,
Nice and bubbly. So here's what I'm going to do. Ready?
yeah.
I'm going to turn it over, and I'm not going to do anything.
Don't mess with it. I want to save all those big bubbles
Yeah,
that you let
yeah,
that air go into the dough. That's the flavor, everybody.
that's
Don't
right.
don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid. And Noel, just talk to people once again about
Yeah,
that little hack that you use when you put the dough balls into the Cambro. You put them in seam side up.
seam side up, so that when you
So when you
turn them
flip it
over,
out,
yeah.
seam side will be down.
Seam side. Now look, you could do it either way. I know a lot of people that do pan pizza with the seam side up
Hmm.
uh, in the pan, and so there's good reason for that because a lot of people have issues where their pizzas stick, and sometimes when you use the top side of the dough, which is we'll call it the version side,
Hmm.
doesn't have any seams, it doesn't have any anything. It's easier to manipulate. Uh, I understand that. I've tried that as well. So now here's what we're going to do, Just.
Yep.
We're gonna gently lift it, and what I'm trying to do is preserve as much of there. Oh, look at that!
Wow.
As much of the integrity of the dough.
You
So
said that was a 9-inch pan?
it's a 9-inch on the bottom and 10 inches on the top. So usually what I have to do is I have to then push the dough out. But this dough is pretty well pushed out already, wouldn't you say?
Doesn't look like it needs a lot.
Doesn't look like it needs a lot. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my two fingers and I'm just going to go around and just test. I'm just going to see. So the good news is that it's not deflating,
Right.
right?
Integrity.
Yeah. So, and also it went to the edges of the pan without any of my help.
Mhm.
All right. So the question is going to be, do we do cheese first and then onions, olives, and tomatoes on top, or do we do onions, tomatoes, and olives on the bottom and cheese on top?
I'd go
What?
cheese underneath
How come?
because I feel like it'll create a barrier and the moisture won't get into the crunchy open crumbs as much.
All right. So do me a favor then. Let me go grab my cheese.
That's usually what I do.
Give me about 10 seconds, and it's about 6 minutes. I'm also going to have a look at my bread in the oven. All right.
Sorry, yeah, geez,
Stop
sorry, guys,
yawning,
I'm
Justin. Come
yawning. My
on.
God, what is it? What? It's 6:30. It's my bedtime. That's what I do. Let me know. The old reverse seam side up. Thank you, Ez. The old reverse seam side up. Bubble down. You got to bubble down. You got to bubble triple down these days. So
So Justin,
this is your cheese.
yeah, I've got three different kinds. I've got this is the provolone here. So I think they put about a pound of cheese on each pizza in Argentina. They go pretty crazy for cheese.
Yeah, they love that
They
cheese.
really like their cheese. So
But they do long bakes on those pies too, right?
it really depends. So it depends on the temperature of the wood-fired oven. It depends on a lot. But yeah, their dough is thicker than mine, so it needs
Hmm.
a lot more time.
Yeah, I
So
mean, this is a high hydration dough, so it's not really thick. It's got a lot of air in there. It's
it's
not
got a lot of
as,
air. So
yeah,
it definitely needs some time. So I'm not going to go too crazy
yeah, with
on
the
the cheese.
toppings. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't
So
want it to weigh it down too much because then that defeats the
no.
purpose too.
So what I'm going to try to do is instead of just like giving it a thick layer of cheese, I'm going to kind of go around and give it like little bumps of cheese.
Yeah,
What do you
what
think about
kind of
that?
crumbles are those? Those look like some.
This is some cheese that I took out, and because it's so darn
Yeah,
hot over there, they kind of melted together. But I'm
I
going with it.
recognize that. Yeah,
I'm going with it.
that's what I
I'm
was
not mad
wondering.
at it. I'm not
Yeah.
mad at it at all. And also, you should know this about me. I tend to under cheese pizzas, and my wife is like, "Where is the cheese on my pizza, Noel? Don't you love me?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Honey, I love you. I just want to taste all the other ingredients too."
Yeah, I don't want it to just be cheese.
That's right. So this one's going to make her happy for once because there's going to be more than enough cheese.
Nice. Now, what are you putting on now?
So this is the provolone. Provolone is really nice. I like it a lot.
So
So for
the first was what?
mozzarella, grated.
And then we got Prove grated.
Yeah, and then I'm going to do some pre-grated Parmesan on the pizza in advance. And
Nice.
then when it comes out, I'm going to let it cool. And then what I might do is my wife won't be home until about 8 o'clock for dinner, so I might
Ooh.
pop it out of the pan and
Finish.
then yeah, finish with maybe a little bit of like the Italian pecorino or
Ooh.
something.
Oh, yes, yes, indeeders.
So I'm going to do a little more parm here because more is more when it comes to cheese
Mm-hmm.
on an Argentinian style, or Argentine
Mm-hmm.
style pizza.
Well, if she doesn't want the whole thing, you can always save me a couple
Yes,
slices.
sir. Yes, sir, Justin.
Just saying. Just saying.
All right, good. So we've got three kinds of cheeses on. That's good. Now, Justin,
Yeah.
some onions.
Ooh, yeah. So what'd you do fancy to these onions? They look pretty.
Nah, they're not. So they are red onions as
Oh, okay.
opposed to white. They're very sweet. Annabella likes red onions, and they're just done in olive oil, salt, and pepper. And I used four different kinds of pepper.
Oh, wow.
I got some black pepper, I got some white pepper, I got some green pepper, and I got some red pepper. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I
Pepper
like
makes
pepper.
everything better. You know that story.
I don't know. Is that a real story?
Yeah, you know that story. I've told
That's
it
a
to you a
story.
thousand times. Pepper makes everything better. Remember, I was in Amsterdam. The sun was coming up. This poor British woman had gotten into a fight with her boyfriend, and we were watching sun rise up over the river. And she turns to me with those longing eyes, and she says, "The sunrise. It's like pepper." I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" She goes, "It makes everything better."
Now I remember the story.
Now you remember.
I didn't remember the story. I just remembered the catchphrase. What do you call it?
Pepper makes everything better. It's true.
Does it
It's
rhyme?
no, no, it
No.
doesn't.
It's probably better that it doesn't rhyme, wouldn't you say?
Um, Ez is asking, what was the weight of this guy? 5 something? No.
This is a 450. 450, yeah.
450 and a 9-inch bottom, 10-inch
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
at 85% hydrato, mix of 3 flours.
Yeah. And now I've got some black olives, and I'm just kind of rip them apart, rustic style. Scatter them about the pizza. Nobody needs a whole black olive in a bite.
No,
Wouldn't you
no,
say?
no, no. Little salty gummy bears. All right, that's my 10. That's
All
my
right, so
10.
let's do this. I'm going to leave this here temporarily,
Okay.
and I'm going to go remove the, pardon my expression, the condom, the prophylactic from the pizza, give it a quick turn, and I will be back to finish this bad boy off, all right? Justin, you're speechless for once. I love this.
Yeah, I didn't, so I cheat. I know Noel says his little cheat is that parchment, but guys, I use that fancy conveyor belt peel. I love that thing. I'm not racing. I'm not racing. I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. Because everybody's like, oh, God, you got to make pizza, get it in. You don't want to make a calzone. Look, I'm not trying to make a calzone. That's not bad. I think you can use that again. Reduce, reuse, recycle, Noel. We only have one Earth. Reduce, reuse, recycle. You're going to use that one again, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you should.
I should, huh?
You should. You shouldn't be a litter bug.
I'll do it. For you, Justin, I'll do it.
Thank you. That's what I like to hear. That's exactly what I like to
For you,
hear.
Justin, I'll do it.
Mikey, no, a lid. I didn't get a lid there.
What does that mean you didn't get a lid?
I don't know. I think Mikey's talking about a hat. It was 1996.
Did you show them a photo that I'm not privy to? Is that why we're talking about lids?
No, he was just talking about Amsterdam. A
Ah,
lid for my Canbro, a lid for my hat. Probably need one.
yeah.
Nope, not a hat. No, a lid. I got you. In the red light district. I got you. Lid there. Prophylactic.
All right. So this is not this is a white pizza, but I'm going to put some beautiful cherry tomatoes on because in Southern California right now, there's so many beautiful kinds of cherry tomatoes. And so I buy them by like 5 pounds at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I simply cut them in half, marinate them in olive oil, salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of thyme,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little more pepper, maybe a little more olive oil. And they hold pretty well in the fridge. You are not supposed to refrigerate tomatoes for sure. But if you slice them and you marinate them and you treat them with love and respect, they're really nice. So I put them on salads, I put them on pizza, I put them on everything.
Gotcha.
So how does it look? Can you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah, it looks great. Looks great.
Good. All right, so this is going to be a pizza that's going to go in the oven in about, let's call it, you know what we're going to do, Justin? You know what we're going to do? I think we're going to double up because I can move that second pie over.
That's what I was
enough,
saying.
I got enough room in my stone, yeah.
Remember I told you that?
I do remember. It's all coming back, yeah.
What do you want this timer to be set at, my friend?
So let's do this one. Let's set this one for 15 minutes.
Okay. Good.
And then at 15, we're going to move it up.
Okay.
All right, just to make sure the bottom doesn't burn.
Great.
All righty? And you know what I'm going to do? Because my wife, she doesn't trust me. She's going to be like, "Where's the cheese?" I'm going to be like, "Justin made me put it on the bottom."
Mm-hmm. You gotta do a little on top here.
I'm gonna do a little on top because she's gonna accuse me of things that for once I'm not guilty of.
Well,
and I am gonna blame you as I always do.
Yeah. You need a scapegoat. That's okay. Tell Annabella to call me. Call me.
She will call you. So now a little more cheese on top.
Jesus.
Now she can't say, "Where's the cheese?"
She doesn't get to say anything.
I don't say anything.
She'll be saying, "Yum, thank you for the pizza."
Yeah. So this is going to be the last. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to use the dough we make today and make some bread, and then I have to take 2 days and not make any wheat bread in my house because we're having a gluten-free pizza party with celiacs over the weekend, and I got to make sure there is no flour anywhere. Can you believe it?
I can.
Can you believe it?
I can. Who's coming over?
Guess.
Nancy Jaffe.
Nancy Jaffe.
So you got to tell Nance that I said we do the Nance dance. Can you tell her that I said hello and that I hope she is doing well?
Will you tell people who are not initiated why we even know Nancy Jaffe?
Nancy Jaffe of UCLA Health. No, Health. She's the head of the UCLA digestion division. Self health and
Sounds good to me, Justin.
sounds
All
good.
right.
And we did three. Count them. One, not two, but three different healthy pizza classes with Nancy, all to be found on the Slow Rise website. A high hydration, a super thin and crispy, and what's the last one? We did three, maybe just a New York-ish. No, what were the three? We did the Fina one, kind of ish, and then we did
Yes.
the super thin
So
and
we
crispy,
we did a
and then
glut
we did
we did a gluten-free class that was I believe 300% hydration,
mhm,
right?
using chickpea flour.
Using chickpea flour. It was very delicious. So
Yes.
you're talking about fina because I used, in order to develop the recipe, there's a lot of different recipes out there that use chickpea flour. You can go to France and find it. You can go to Italy and find it. So I actually ended up in Genoa, virtually at least, and I ended up with some very beautiful pizza that I used as kind of like the basis for that gluten free, and it came out great.
Yeah.
So that was class number one. Class number two was a 50-50 mix of white flour and wheat flour to get people thinking about whole wheat. And the last class, the advanced class, I believe was 100% hydration and 100% whole wheat flour. It was
Mhm.
amazing. Although it was a rough class. It was a rough class. I don't know if you remember. Well, it's all coming back on demand, so people will find out.
Yeah.
People will find out. All right, so here's what we're going to do, Justin.
Yeah.
I am going to move my mixer
Well, I got
around.
to start my. I got to start my. I'm gonna do it for 14 minutes now.
Yeah, 14 minutes is good. And so that first pizza's been in there for about I'm saying
18,
about 18,
18 and a half.
but I think it's going to need a little more coloring.
Oh,
Yeah, so let me do this. Let me get this mixer set up.
okay.
We're gonna get the mix going as well, right? So we're gonna have a lot of timers going, all right?
I like it. Let's do it. Let's do it, Mike. That's a great question. We'll ask Noel in just a second. Um, um, so just so everybody knows, that peel, that's like one of the later ones. I used to do just the Magic Chef one. I started with that one just because I just have a very small oven, and launching was always part of the process that I found was hard. And they've been using the conveyor belt peels forever in Italy, and I said, well, why not try it? And it worked, and then that one broke, and then I got another one, and then they started coming out with these that are kind of like, I don't know what that. It's like a woven, almost metallic um, fiber copper surface, and it works great. I really love it. They're a little expensive,
How
but
expensive?
that one is at $90 for
What?
yeah, yeah, $90.
Justin, I didn't know you had a budget for that.
I don't. I don't. I'm still paying it off. I got that Prime card, so I pay it off every month.
Wow.
I was Synchronity Bank or something. So, Mike is asking, would you still run with the Leaven Foods products while using the chickpea flour? See, I don't think so because that one wasn't really we didn't have any yeast in that one, did we? No.
No. So that's going to be coming back on demand, and so there's a lot of ways to leaven um, bread, gluten free and otherwise. And so, could you use leaven free? Absolutely. Leaven Foods, yes. We're working on a gluten free project right now where we're using a combination of wild yeast and also all-purpose sourdough. We're also working on another project in New York where we're going to be using a combination of, believe this, commercial yeast and sourdough as well.
Sounds great. Sounds
Yeah.
great.
I mean, the thing is that like we have these ideas for how things work, and then you start working with a chef, and they have another idea, and you're
Right.
not going to be telling a chef, no, 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 don't do it your way, do it our ways. I mean, this guy's going to be like, hey, I had 2 Michelin stars before you were born.
Right.
I'll tell you, you don't tell me.
Okay,
See what
so
I'm talking about?
my 20 just went off. You want me to add another 5?
Let me do this. Let me just double check the
Okay.
browning, and let me double check the bottom, and thank you for that. And it
Yeah.
might be another 5. All right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we did another gluten-free class with the authentic food guys, and I don't remember if we added yeast or if the yeast was already in their mix. But I was actually thinking about this today. If you don't want the inclusion rate, if you know, you can always back off a little bit of the Leaven Foods. If it's too sour or too sourdoughy, back off a little bit of that and put some yeast in, right? I mean, it's that's doable, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's what I would say. With this particular product, the all-purpose sourdough, we don't have a problem with it getting too sour. The only
Okay,
time that it gets too sour is if you lose control of the fermentation or you try to go too many days.
gotcha. Okay,
And you know, it's an advanced product for sure, and there, especially you know, James and I have spent months, if not years, kind of trying to kick the tires on every recipe and figure out, you know, where the train comes off the track and how long, you know, you can ferment stuff for. So,
okay,
mm, like at the Pizza Expo, we mixed some dough on Sunday and we were using it on Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, it was a 4-day dough and it
hmm,
worked really great. But after 4 days, you don't have to finger it as much as we did here, right?
right.
Good. All right, so let's do this, Justin. We got looks like we've got we're 8 minutes in on the pan pizza, and
Okay,
how many? And we got another 3 minutes to go. So let me do.
on the bread,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let me raise this bad boy up, and let's go over the recipe here.
Can we move it a little bit? I feel like
Uh,
we're in there.
yeah, Justin. So I have a I'm having issues. We're in there, but I'm so close to the edge. I don't want it to fall off. So here, I'll do this, but then how about that? Better,
Nah,
Justin. Pain in my ass.
I feel
He's
like
like,
you got to
nah.
go back, go back.
Easy for
Push,
you to say.
push the mixer back a little bit.
Just now you see what happened, Justin?
Oh boy,
See? You're
you
easy for
guys,
you to say.
you
Easy for you
guys.
to say.
I told him to get a little magnet thing. He just put it on his fridge. He doesn't listen to me, guys.
I don't listen to you for good reason, Justin.
A little magnet on that fridge.
Half baked is how I describe the majority of your ideas. Not your pizza. Your pizza is perfect, but your ideas are a little half baked sometimes.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're in the mixer. There we go. That looks a little bit better.
Let's see. But now when I put oh, it's so close. It's making me nervous. This thing's gonna be jumping around. Justin, when this thing goes falling off, who's gonna blame? I'm gonna blame you.
I don't know
All right.
what you did. Put your camera
No,
on a
just
book or
Justin,
something. My
stop it.
goodness. Put it
Stop.
on. Go get the yellow pages.
No. We don't have the yellow pages. All right, so here's what we got. I'm saying we got about a minute and a half left. So while we're doing that, let's just review the recipe.
Okay.
All right. Now, I am purposely not publishing this recipe. All right. We have a recipe on the website. That's the one you should use. My job as a pizza consultant is to kind of troubleshoot all these recipes, use a variety of different flours, a variety of different mixers. I try to heat the dough up to 95 degrees and see what happens. I try to make the dough too cold and see what happens, right? So I'm messing with the fermentation, the hydration, the gluten development, all of it, and looking for happy accidents. And also, if anything goes wrong, I want to know what caused it so that if any of our clients or customers have similar problems, I can say, "Oh yeah, that happened to me, and
Hmm.
here's why." Are you with me?
Yep.
All right, good. So we've got our flour. Let me do this. Let me get that water out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hot in here. All right, and then here's what I'm also going to do. I'm going to say it's been 24, almost 25 minutes. So let me get that first pizza out,
Okay.
and because I don't have any room here to show it to you, I'll show it to you like this. Okay.
Perfect. All right. I'm excited to see the doji dough. Hopefully, like we did last time, not last week, but last class, we did get a crumb shot. Fingers crossed. But Noel's his own, you know. He doesn't listen to me all the time, although he should. So I'm gonna say, oh, looks pretty good. Bring it over. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Looks pretty darn nice.
Yeah. So let's see. Can you see it?
Yeah, that looks pretty nice.
Ow, burning my fingers.
Don't burn yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I have a spatula here that I can use, but who knows what's going to happen.
Let it sit for a second. We're going to be on this. We're going to be on this mix for a minute, right?
Yeah, we will. We will. Good. So here's the thing. With a high hydration bread like 85%, you don't want to rush it because you want to cook all the moisture out, right? Also, because this bread was super well fermented, you don't want to push it too hard, and you want to bake it to perfection. And also, sometimes when you reach the edge of the fermentation where you're almost over fermented, sometimes the yeast eats the sugars, and it needs a little extra time in the oven just to get that browning.
Gotcha.
Beautiful, right? All right, good. So let's go over all of our times and temps real quick, Justin, and we will get this party started, all right?
All right.
All right, good. So I'm gonna. Oh, you know what I'm gonna need? I'm gonna need a spatula to get the poulies.
Oh, yep. Let's get that pull. That's a good question. I'm going to ask him, if we're doing super high hydration, why not do a biga?
And we're about 3 minutes away on having to move the pan pizza up to the higher shelf, right?
Okay. Yeah, I got 4, but yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go over the ingredients again, make sure everybody gets the recipe, right? Then I'm going to move that guy up, and then I'm going to put that second bread in.
Okay.
And then away we shall go.
There we go.
And per your instructions, Justin, I'm going to use that same piece of parchment again.
There we go.
It's not wanting it.
You have to do it. You have to do it. Why not? But if it catches on fire, it wasn't I didn't tell him to do it. Okay, that's between you, me, and everybody else on Zoom and YouTube. On Zoom.
All right, Just, are you with me? All right, so because we have the other cam kind of blocked off, you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing this time, but you can see the beautiful dough, right?
I see it. And
it's gonna. Oh man, it smells good.
Smells like you got a little funk on it.
It doesn't smell sour like the all-purpose sourdough, but it has the quality of a commercial yeast, but there's just more depth to it.
Okay.
More depth. So I'm gonna let it settle nice and slow. All right. So ingredients. This is an 85% hydration dough.
Okay.
Right. If you want, you can use the recipe that we have on the website, which calls for 100%. In my case, would be 1,000 grams of baker's flour. Right. I think they were using King Arthur special patent. Right. I, on the other hand, am using a variety of Cairnspring Mills flours. I've got the Trailblazer at 1/3. I've got the Sequoia All-Purpose at 1/3, and I've got the Glacier Peak at 1/3. I know you can use them in different amounts. I'm sure, Justin, you have your own recipe and your own ratios, right?
True.
So I was just kind of like spitballing, and I'm like, let's do 1/3 of each. I was actually doing it to protein. I was trying to get pretty much the same protein as King Arthur. So that's why I chose that.
Interesting.
All right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you said we use. Oh no, we're not even there yet. There we go. Well, olive oil, gentle dimple, or you're gonna skip it this time?
Nope. Olive oil, gentle dimple.
A gent dimp, huh?
Yeah. So this dough also, if I wanted to this morning, instead of letting it proof all day, I could have put it back in the fridge and used it and pulled it over the next day or two, even 3 days. But I wanted to bake off 2 loaves today, and I also wanted to see the shelf life on this stuff too, because I really think that using a lot of pre-ferment in a dough gives you beautiful, beautiful shelf life. So this should last for 2-3 days, no problem. All right. So here's my plan, Stan. I'm going in. All right. Looks like I've got almost no time left on the pan. I'm moving it up and set me a 10-minute timer. We'll turn it at 10, and then we're probably going to go another 15. Ready?
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so that's 10, and we should be moving. Let's see what we got here. 14. We should be moving the other one up to the top. Should be moving it up to the top.
Now I have a new problem.
Talk to me.
How am I going to get that pizza out with that 1 pound of cheese on it?
I don't know.
I don't know either. All right, so
How many minutes for the new one?
then let's do 10 minutes.
Okay, so it's 9 right now. And how many minutes do you want the pan up top?
So we've done 15, and I think it's going to need at least another 10.
Okay.
All right. So in 10 minutes, I'm going to go in. I'm going to turn the bread. I'm going to pull the parchment out, and I'm going to also remove the. And I also want to check the browning on the top because that's important, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Good. All right. So we've got our flour here. Should be 1,000 grams, but we removed 200 grams because we've got this big, beautiful poolish.
Hmm.
So here's where it was when I mixed it this morning, and this would be here about double. So it's risen about 2.5 times. Oh, it smells great.
Yeah. Oh,
It smells super lactic, like yogurt.
great.
I can't really, I don't, I can't use that camera to show you, but basically usually the poolish rises and then when it's ready, it kind of falls. This one hasn't fallen yet. So
Crevasses a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful. So, yeah, this is beautiful. In terms of the recipe for this,
Yeah.
if you were doing a straight version of this dough, and you used our dough calculator on the Leaven Foods website, Justin, if you wouldn't mind putting a link to the chat in the Leaven calculator. Normally for this dough, we use 4 grams of instant dry yeast. And so if we were doing a straight dough using the wild yeast microbes, we would multiply 4 times 5, so we'd be using 20 grams of the wild yeast. However, because we're using a poolish, we only needed to use 2.5 grams to make a poolish, and that's a wonderful thing because you're using something in the neighborhood of 10% of the microbes, right? And so one of the things we've been experimenting with is using the wild yeast and also the sourdough, the all-purpose sourdough, as a straight dough, as a poolish, as a biga, and I've been using it as a levain for months, if not years. It works great as a levain.
Great.
So we will be publishing more recipes as we kick the tires on all of these existing recipes, and I'm showing you how I do it, so people can see and can experiment for themselves. But none of these are tried and true yet, right? All of the straight dough recipes work great. When you make a poolish with a sourdough, or when you make a poolish with a wild yeast, there are some subtle differences, and so we're learning as we go. All right. So Justin, let's do this. Are you ready?
Talk to me.
All right. So as you know, we got to talk temps first. You feeling like guessing a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Guess my room temp.
It's going to be like 78.
Oh,
78.
you're pretty darn good. It went down from 79 to 78. Can you see it, Justin?
I can see it. 78.
Good
78 it is.
You're amazing. I don't know how you guess this stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
Yeah, me and the weather.
You and the weather. All right. So room temp 78. You want to
RT.
You want to guess the flour temp?
It's going to be the same.
No, it's not going to be the same.
It's going to be higher, 79?
It's going to be lower, a little lower. I'm going to call it 76.
Ooh, that is lower.
It's always a little lower.
76. RT, 78. Flour temp, FT, 76.
Yeah. So yesterday, just so you know, the temperatures were a little lower. The flour temp was 72, the room temp was 74, and I used 74-degree water. But because the room temp and the flour temp are both higher, I wanted to use slightly cooler water. So I'm going to use 62-degree water.
H2O, 62 degrees. Okay.
Yeah. And so I don't mind if the temperature goes a little higher than we might like, because commercial yeast and wild yeast and sourdough are all radically different. And so usually when we do this mix in the beginner advanced level 1 class, we're shooting for a desired dough temperature between 72 and 74. Anything above that is problematic. Yesterday when I mixed this dough, it came out of the 83. No hay problemas, right? And so I did a 2-hour bulk. I did stretch and folds, and I think by the time I put it into the refrigerator, the dough was down to 79 degrees, which is high for commercial yeast, but not for wild yeast and not for sourdough.
Gotcha.
So all right. So here's what we're going to do, Justin. We're going to start, as always, with the water.
H to the Izzo in. That's 650 grams into the bowl.
And then what we're going to do is we have 400 grams of pouliche, and I'm going to scrape it out. Smells so good.
So how are you getting that exact?
What do you mean?
How are you getting all 400 out? You didn't use the old trick,
What do you
the
mean the
water
old?
trick.
What do you mean the old trick?
The water trick to put the water in to get all the little scrape the edges,
This
all the
works great.
bits.
I mean, I gotta, you know.
Sure. Sure,
I mean,
sure.
truth be told, there's about 12 extra grams
There you
in my
go.
pouliche
There you
because
go.
it's hard to get 400 grams out. It's a little sticky, as you
That's
know.
that's why I was asking.
Mhm. You're on to me, Justin. And it's only been how many years? 5
Yeah,
years?
something more probably. What's it
Probably
been?
more.
We
Probably
met in
more.
2016.
What's our anniversary? Do we have one?
I'd have to look back in my Instagram, which I'm not on.
Oh boy. All right, I get it. All right, so that looks good. That looks good. We're gonna hold back the salt as always, right, Justin?
Yep, salt's taken to vacato,
Good.
right? Yeast and
Yeah.
salt went out on vacato, so we can focus on the incorporato because we want to be in control of the fermentato, and that, my
Good.
friends, is a solid foundato.
Good.
A cheat
So
sheet.
now we're putting in all of the flour, right?
Uh-huh.
That's 800 grams plus the 200 grams in the pouliche, so we're ready to go on that. Now, people always ask me this, and I always tell them the same thing. If you're using commercial yeast, you usually do the mix, then maybe an auto lease, and then you add the wild yeast, right? Or
Okay.
the commercial yeast. But in this case, because we're using it in the pouliche, it's part of the hydration, so you don't want to wait. All right, so let's lower this. So close. If this slips over, Justin, I'm in big trouble. Big trouble.
I
All right,
mean, we
hold on.
can't see it at all.
How about that?
No, can't see it at all.
Oh boy, you made me move everything, didn't you? All right, now I can hold it. I'm not moving the camera. I'm moving the mixer.
There you go.
I don't know if that's the way to do it. Hold up. You tell me.
There. Now we're getting somewhere. Keep going.
No, Dustin, you say keep going. I'm on the edge.
Keep going with that.
You keep going with that. You're gonna see what you did with me before the camera fell over.
You've got there. Now we're getting somewhere.
That's all you get. That's all you get.
Sorry, guys and gals.
Justin, what time is it?
6:07.
I'm gonna call it 6:08.
Okay.
All right, so mix one is going to be at 60 RPM, and we're using the Ooni Halo mixer. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah. How long is mix one?
We're gonna do 5 minutes. You want to start a timer?
Yeah. Oops.
Good. All right, so away we go.
There we go. 5 minutes.
So we're mixing at a very, very, very slow speed on purpose. Now what's going on with my oven? I got another 2 minutes in the oven.
I got 2 minutes on the top. That's the pan pizza.
All right.
And then I got I think I have 1 minute on the pan pizza and then 2 minutes on the turnaround.
All right. So how about this? While this is mixing, I'm gonna go and check everything out.
Okay.
And
Great.
I'll be back in a shake.
Just a jiffy. Just take just a little jiffy. Super slow mix. Remember, we're just trying to incorporate. We're just trying to hydrate all the flour. Hydrate all the flour, everybody. That's all. Ooni mixer, it's good. I do see a lot of things on like line where people's have been. If you have the Ooni mixer, it's like ramping up from 5, going really fast, and then giving an error message. But I feel like Ooni has relatively good customer service. I hope if you bought one, it's going well. If not, do you need an $800 mixer? I don't know. Probably, maybe not. Maybe so. I'm enjoying mine. So we're not Ooni ambassadors, just so everybody knows.
That's right. So Justin, I have to admit something to you.
Talk to me.
I'm at a little bit of a loss here.
I thought so.
There's so much cheese on that pizza. I don't know what's going on in my own oven.
That's
I've never
yeah.
made a pizza with that much cheese on it.
I bet you it's very wet in there now,
It's
huh?
very wet in there.
Yeah,
Yes. And actually, one of the things that because there's so much moisture in the
moisture
oven, it's also affecting the browning of
of
the
the other
bread,
one. Yeah, yeah.
right? So I'm gonna pull that out when we're done with the mix. I'm gonna give it another 3 minutes. So we got another what 3 minutes on this mix right here. I'll pull that out then, and then I would say that I'll probably in about 5 minutes, no, in about 10, I'll move the bread on the bottom shelf up to the top like we did before. So it'll
Okay.
end up being, I believe, a 25-minute bake.
And how much longer on your pan pizza? You don't know.
I'm gonna end it in 3 minutes when this
Okay.
first mix is done. All right.
All right.
So I'm just gonna kind of go around the sides here and give it a little scrape.
Do a little scrape, scrape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're mixing at about a third of the capacity of this mixer, the Ooni Spiral. The Ooni Halo has a capacity of 5 kilos, so we're at about 1.8 kilos. So that's one of the things I like about spirals is that you can mix at a very low percentage of total capacity, as little as 15 or 20%. Some of them I've even mixed at 10%, but it really depends on the mixer itself. But 15 to 20, no problem. A third, no problem. And I've seen people mix at 110, 115% of capacity.
Oh wow.
Mostly Italians.
Yeah, I got up there pretty high. I don't know if I did. Let me see. I did 13 at 360.
Ah,
See if I.
that sounds good.
Yeah, it was
You're
good.
talking about 360 RPMs, huh?
No, 360 dough balls. Or I'm sorry,
Oh,
360 gram dough balls. I think I was right there at the
you think you
limits.
were at 5 kilos?
I was just about.
All right, that sounds good.
Let's see if I can find my recipe.
All right.
No.
All right, so here's the game plan.
Talk to me.
When this stops, we're gonna do a temperature check.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull the pan pizza out of the oven and let it cool over there. I'm not even gonna bring it over. It's too hot and it's too molten. All right, I'll
Okay.
bring it over later. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
was at 4,958
Wow. And how did it
grams.
mix?
It mixed pretty well. Yeah,
Good.
it was a little higher in the friction factor range just because more dough, more friction kind of thing.
Good. Good.
But it was good. It was good.
All right, so we're almost done here. So at 5 minutes, I'm making notes. The dough temperature is going to be. Do you want to guess?
No.
It's going to be high. It's going to be
Yeah.
high. I'm going to be alarmed, but not too alarmed. Because you know why? Because wild yeast
It can
and
handle it. It can
sourdough,
handle it.
it can handle it. It can handle it. Something about commercial yeast, I don't know what it is. It's like turbocharged. It's like
Yeah.
rocket fuel.
That's what it's totally made for.
Yeah, yeah. So, one of the things I'm noticing is that James might argue with me and say it's got the same leavening power. Is that the? Is
Hmm.
that the? Hold on.
Yeah, that's
Before I put more words in James's mouth, he's here. I'm sure he's taking notes too. I'll be right back.
okay. So, Mikey, this is 5 kilos. So 5,000 grams. 5,000 grams, not 500. Or maybe you meant to say 5,000 in there. But 5 liter, yeah. Oh, dang. That looks like a Supremo from the old Pizza Hut. Dare I say it? Looks pretty good to me. I don't think Noel knows what to do. Hopefully we don't hear a big clang when he's in the back there. That would be bad. Felt like a very heavy dough. My goodness, heavy dough. What? How much do you think that pizza weighed?
I mean, I can weigh it if I bring my scale down. It weighs a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like it's gonna be a 3 pound pizza.
yeah, yeah. So all right, what's going on? We did our 5 minutes. The mixer stopped.
Yep. We did a little more than 5, but that's okay because it's such a 60 RPMs and a spiral is nice and slow, so
Very
you don't
slow,
have to
very
worry.
gentle. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So drum roll, please, Justin. Ring that big blue bell. You're not gonna guess, are you?
I'm. It's gonna be hot. What is it? 70. It's gonna be 84.
No, no, it's not quite so bad. So it's only 74.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, but we have a lot more mixing to do. A
That's
lot,
true. That's true.
right?
85% hydrato, guys. Lot of
Yeah.
mixing. How high you think we're going to get on this jam?
How hot are we going to get? Like, what's it going
How
to end?
high? How RPMs?
So here's what I did the other day. I started at 60, then I went up to 120, then I went up to 240, then I went up to 320.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So we're
And
going to
and
kind of do the same thing here.
and what's the how long about each? 5 minutes on each?
We're going to eyeball it. So I did 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and then 15. And then I waited 10 minutes to go to 320, but I didn't need to wait that long. So every 5 minutes, I'm going to have you help. We're going to
Okay.
go up from, so we're going to start right now. And the plan is we're going to add the salt and mix for 2 minutes. Then after 2 minutes, we're going to go up. No, sorry. Apologies. Let's try that again.
Okay.
Mix two, we're going to add the salt. And basically we're going to add the salt, and after 5 minutes we're going to go up to 120. All right. After 10 minutes we're going to go up to 180. After 15 minutes we're going to go up to 240, and
So
after
yeah,
20 minutes we're going to go up to 320. Are you with me?
at
So
5 minute intervals. Yeah.
yeah. Are you going to help me
Okay.
with those intervals?
You know,
All right. Now, last question. Up. That's a timer, right? So I'm going
that's
to
a
move the
timer.
bread up from the
Up to the
bottom
top.
to the top, and we're going to give it another how many minutes?
You tell me. 10?
I'm going to say 5, but we'll eyeball it because there was a lot of moisture in that oven, and I'm not getting the browning that I got on the first
Okay.
bread. All right,
Go
be
for
right
it.
back.
Yep. Man, I got a lot of timers going on over here, everybody. I'm trying my timerist, my time. But hey, look, he's not giving me any pizza, so what am I supposed to do? I will be flying back to Richmond, Virginia for the 4th of July. I get to see my folks. Excited about that. Haven't been on an airplane in a while.
Justin, I hear you love airplane. Do the captains still give you wings?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I get to fly the plane.
Good.
They
I'm
see me
glad.
coming. They say, hey, Unc Just, why don't you
Beautiful.
come up here and take us for a spin?
All right, Justin, I'm going to call this a 5-minute auto release because we've been chitting and chatting and moving
Yeah,
things around in the oven.
we've been chitting. All right,
All right.
so
I'm going to say that bread's going to need 10 minutes in that oven because it's
copy that. I'm gonna do.
pretty pale. Pretty pale.
I'm gonna do 955.
Yeah. So
Is
one
what
of
he
the
said.
things we're gonna start mixing. I'm gonna put the salt in, and then we're gonna talk. All right.
Okay,
So we're at 2% salt. Start mixing again.
and that's 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna mix for 5 minutes on this,
Oh, okay.
and then we're gonna go up from
I
60
thought
to
you said
120.
2 minutes and then we were gonna go up. No,
No,
five
no, no.
minutes. Okay.
I did something a
Yeah,
little different the other day. I was reading from my notes. That was very irresponsible of me. I should not read from my notes aloud.
I
I
tell you
should
that
read.
all the time.
Very irresponsible. So
So irresponsible.
let's just discuss something because I want people to understand. When you are baking with high hydration dough, the moisture from the dough is being released into the oven,
Hmm.
right? And so if you have a professional oven, the way that you generally bake is you start by holding all the moisture in the oven for the first 5, 10, 12 minutes of the bake, depending on your bake time. And that allows the dough to rise to its maximum, right? Whether you're doing a boule, whether you're doing a baguette, whether you're doing high hydration dough, that's the best way to do it. So you keep the vents closed, moisture in, maximum rise, minimum browning. Then you vent the oven and open the vents, releasing the moisture, starting the browning.
Gotcha.
When you're baking on a Sears and Roebuck, designed circa post World War II era, the only way to vent your oven is to open and close the door. But actually, this is a relatively new oven. I've only had it for about a year, so the seals are good, so it really holds in the moisture. But when you have an 85% hydration dough and you have a pizza with 2 pounds of cheese and tomatoes and onions, and there's a lot of moisture in there, so
Yeah.
you're not going to get the browning you're going to get if you're
Dripping.
just So I want people to understand, and it's good for people to see this happening. I think.
Well, I mean, these are what we talk. These are the different variables that affects the dough that
Yeah.
you might not think about. Like, if you have a home oven and you're doing this stuff, you're doing a big old pan pizza right next to bread that you really want to be crispy on top. These are some of the variables that you might have to take account for,
How
or
many
they
minutes?
are.
How many minutes have we been mixing?
Uh, ex- 2 minutes with 3 more on that.
Okay, and how many more minutes do we have on the bread?
The bread, I've got 37 seconds.
Oh, okay. So why don't I do this? Why don't I go check the bread,
Okay,
and then I'll be right back.
sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, you guys know the deal. The old variables in the pizza equation. Yeah. So I use that little Breville, not the Breville Pizza Olo, not that oven. I just got the Breville little smart oven. So 5, 6 minutes is usually what I do, and then I open it. Maybe I'll start doing 5. Maybe I will. Everybody, we can see. We can see.
Give me another 2-3 minutes on the bread, all right?
2, 3 minutes on the breed.
How
Okay.
much longer do we have till we go to 120?
I've got 2 minutes and 11 seconds.
That's when I'll pull the bread out. How about that?
This seems reasonable to me.
We're winging it, but it also seems reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that last one, I did when I was at the Pizza Expo and I was doing demos at Ooni. I did 100% hydration dough, which I had to bake off the next day, and everybody was making fun of me. And when I baked it off, it actually baked pretty well. But what I would have done had I known, I would have dropped the temperature in the oven from 500 to maybe 425,
Oh,
and instead of baking it for 20 or 25 minutes, I would have baked it for 30 or 35 minutes, and then I would have had a near perfect bake.
interesting.
Yeah. So those
Why would have that been? What were you looking for that it didn't maybe have?
well, I got the browning that I wanted.
But the
Uh,
sponge was still
I
under?
want, when you have so much, you have to cook the hydration out of the dough. And so, for instance, on a 750-gram dough ball that's 100% hydration, you might lose 30% of your total weight in evaporation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And you need time, really. And the problem is, if you're cooking too hot, you're going to get brown on the outside, and the inside is not going to be quite done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people, they cook Detroit's at a lower temperature, or pan pizza is usually cooked. What are you cooking? What are you at your 5 today?
500, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it simple.
What did we do last week or with the pans? Did you also cook those at 5?
500,
Okay.
525
I mean,
sometimes, yeah.
500 is, as professional pizza oven goes, that is a little lower
It's a
for
little
a
lower.
home baker. That's you're kind of
Yeah.
pushing the edge.
I
Maybe
think
you can get to 550 if you're lucky.
I agree. I agree. All right, so this is mixing nice and slow and nice and low. The salt is in. How many more minutes until we're ready to bump it up?
I got about 10 seconds, bud.
I'm bumping it up now.
Okay, there we go.
120.
Another 5, 120. So we're at 60, correct, Noel? Now we're at 120. So really, it's been.
Keep talking. I'm getting that bread.
Okay. I think, and we'll ask Noel this, but I think it was like 10 minutes at 60 just to really incorporate everything. I think. I mean, that looks good to me. Yeah. Hot, hot, hot. Ooh, excuse me. My goodness. Why I'm so tired. It's mesmerizing watching that mix. I'm gonna see if I can get Noel a magnet for his. So Noel, just to really kind of go over it, it was almost 10 minutes. We did 5 minutes at 60, and then another 5 minutes. So about 10 minutes at 60 before we went up. Okay.
Yeah, so we have your first mix, mix one, and that's just incorporation, right? Then you go to mix two, where you add the salt, and another 5 minutes on basically first speed, and then once the salt is incorporated, and you want to start really developing some gluten,
Mm-hmm.
put it at 120. But again, this is a very gentle mixer. Even at 120, this would not be anywhere near second speed on a commercial mixer. It's so gentle.
Mm-hmm.
I think once we get to 180, 240, that'll be the equivalent of second speed on a commercial mixer.
Gotcha.
But I like to go nice and slow. Also, with a high hydration dough, you can go slow and you don't have to worry about too much friction, right?
Okay.
Some people make the argument that you can kind of whip too much air into the dough, and that takes away from the flavor, or the color, or aroma. I'm not buying it. I think that's the case with lower hydration doughs, but it's not my experience with the high stuff.
Gotcha.
All right, that's just me.
Yeah.
I've been in arguments with people that know more than me, have more experience than me, and I'm just sticking with my experience. If I don't know anything, because I don't have experience, I keep my mouth shut. But if
There
I've got
you go.
experience and I've been able to make good
Can
bread and
back it
pizza,
up, baby.
back it up. All right. So let me do this, Justin, while we're talking. Let me show you that first pan, that first bread that came out.
Oh yeah.
So that's the top, that's the side, and that's the bottom.
That's great.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
It smells nutty. It's almost, it's so good. We'll cut that open for a crumb shot when it cools a little more.
Hey.
Not because I like you. Not because I like you.
All right, Noel. I'm sending you a link to be able to buy a magnetic phone holder so you can put it right on your fridge so we can get a little higher
All right.
if we
Send
want
me a
to
link.
get down in it.
Send me a link.
I sent you a link. I think it'll work.
Thank
it'll
you.
work. You might have to move your slow rise poster.
That thing's old. It needs to be more than moved. It needs
Yeah.
to be. That was black when I printed it.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
But my printer, I had a nice Epson printer during COVID, and it broke, and I was like, you know what? Forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who prints photos anymore anyway? Not me.
I got my parents one of those last Christmas, and it's always nice to, it's so weird that we never hold anything really in our hands anymore.
I
remember going to my grandmother's house, and we'd look through the photo books, and now we have thousands upon thousands of photos that we don't even look back at anymore. We only use them to pretend that our lives are real on Instagram and this
Justin,
and that.
Waxing poetic once again. How are we doing here for
doing well.
time?
Let me see. I've got it 55 seconds.
I'm going for it.
Okay.
180.
$1.80, everybody. $1.80.
All right.
$1.80.
So now we're going to start to see some gluten development at 180. Right? So while we have the time, I always like to do this. I like to talk about the different mixers and the different RPMs you can expect out of a first and a second speed mix. This has a variable speed drive, right? So it's not first, second, or third speed, but if you're using a standard, let's say Hobart mixer, a planetary mixer, you'll have a first, a second, even a third and a fourth on the old ones, right?
Okay.
But usually first and second, sometimes third on the new ones for the planetaries, sometimes just first and second on the standard planetary. For a spiral mixer, which is one of my favorites, which is what this is, usually just a first and a second, and they range. So you could have 60 RPMs on first and 120 on second, and that's it, right? Those are usually like the slower, like the French-style mixers, right, where they want something as gentle as possible. Then you get into some of the Italian and the German mixers, and they're at about 100 or 120 on first speed, and 200 to 240 on second. How about that?
How about it?
Yeah, that's a badass mix.
Yeah.
I like to also use a fork or a double diving arm mixer. Those are kind of Italian style. And you can get the double diving arm, I've seen them as slow as 15 RPMs on first and 30 on second. On the fork mixers, I've seen them as slow as 20 to 30 on first and 40 to 60 on second. So, I mean, even second speed is slow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always count my RPMs. Thank God this mixer does it for me. But I usually, take a video and then just count the RPMs so I know what I'm working with. How are we doing for time here, Justin?
Good.
How many more minutes?
Let me see. Three.
All right, good. All right, so we are at 10. We went to 180, and then at 15, we're going to go to 240, and then I'm going to say at 20, we're going to go to 320, right?
Holy Moses. 240? Will we just go 300?
320.
320.
Yeah, from 240 to 320. We're going up 120.
We're going up 80?
60, 120, 180, 240, and 320.
Why do we do Double, double, double.
Because I'm not. I'm doing it because I'm not. It doesn't. The number doesn't matter to me. What I'm looking at is the level of gluten development,
Okay.
right? And so
Now that
I could just double all the time. But if I keep doubling, I'm going to end up at like 400, and I don't need to be mixing that quickly.
and with this dough at
Yeah.
85%, you're looking for close to 100% gluten develop, correct?
I'm looking for 100%,
Right,
and then
right.
I still going to do 1 or 2 stretch and folds.
Right, just to send it home.
Just to align the glutens, yeah. And I'm going to leave this guy out for about 2 hours. So right now,
are you going to do 30s? One in half an hour, then one in an hour?
It really depends. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my windows and cool off my kitchen a little bit, turn my oven down since we're done baking, except I'm going to reheat a slice or two for my wife when she gets home. And so long story short, what was the question?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to, like, your stretch and folds. Yeah, are you doing 2 in an hour and then you're letting it sit for another hour, or are you going to just kind of play it by ear?
So if I'm going to do a 2-hour bulk, which is what I did yesterday, I'll do one at 30 and then one at 60. Let it sit out for another hour and put it in.
Yeah.
Yesterday I kind of let it go. I did one at an hour and another one closer to 2 hours, and then put it in. I kind of like to play around, but the rule of thumb is if you're doing a 2-hour bulk and you're doing 2 stretch and folds, you do one at the 30, one at the 60.
Right.
If you're doing depending on the overall fermentation schedule, if you're doing let's say a 1-hour bulk, you do a stretch and fold at the halfway point. Yep. Lots of rules, Justin. There will not be a quiz at the end of this.
Good.
Look, rules are made to be broken, but I like to follow the rules. You know me.
Until you understand what they do, and then if you want to manipulate them a little bit. Yeah. So I got about 15 seconds left on this.
I'm going to 240.
Okay.
I can't wait.
240.
I'm not seeing the gluten development that I want.
Okay.
Now, and by see, I mean I should be seeing little wisps. I should be hearing some slapping. I should be starting to see the dough pulling away, and I'm seeing none of those things.
Okay.
So, if we had more dough in the mixer, we'd be a little further along on the development. Right.
More dough, more to mix with, and more of that stuff. Hey, maybe we could bring Jimmy Gaff on, and we could chit chat with him for a little bit. What do you say?
Do that. As long as you don't forget the timer on me.
4 minutes and 30 seconds. Jimmy Gaff, ladies and gentlemen. James, if you're there, would you come on down? There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, my friend?
Great. Excellent.
Got to see you at the East-West Pizza Fest at Edison a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was great. Got to eat a bunch of great pizza, talk to a bunch of great people, and have a good time generally.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you guys chit for a second, and I will be right back. 4 minutes, Noel. 4 minutes.
4 minutes. You hear me? 4 minutes. All right. So let's see, James. I'm pretty happy with the all wild yeast bread. It's got no sour at all, but I gotta say, like, it's got a nuttiness that's really beautiful. It's got a like a floral quality that's really nice. I really like it.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of great success with that recipe. I think it's just, really it browns great. It has a great flavor, buttery, floral, toasty.
So one of the things that I noticed is that I'm pretty sure that if I had used commercial yeast and I had let this dough overheat the way I did, I think it would have become over fermented and I would have started to get like these off aromas, which I'm not getting. So what's been your experience? Because you've done a lot more like A/B testing between commercial and wild yeast.
Yeah, I would say that definitely rings true. I would say one thing that's maybe a little different is our wild yeast doesn't do quite as well when it doesn't get bulk and it goes directly into the cold.
Yeah.
Into the walk-in or the deli. But other than that, I think it holds up a little bit better. Doesn't over ferment as quickly, and you can use the dough for a little bit longer than with instant dry. But that's been our experience. I think another thing to look out about that we haven't fully tested is, I think it might be a little bit more sensitive to sugar than instant dry. So if you're making a sweet bread or you have, I'm talking about greater than 10%
Yeah.
sugar in your recipe, that's something that you might have to look out for.
Well, even the commercial yeast brands, they usually have, like Lesaf has a gold version for high inclusion rates of sugar, butter, all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's the osmotolerant yeast, which we hope to produce at some point. I know we're making pizza, so that's not really the focus, but for people in the pastry or things like that,
Yeah.
that's something for the future.
Yeah. All right, Justin, looks like we got about a minute and a half left here, and then we're going to go up from 240 to 320. I might have to you don't even know what's going on over here. I'm like right literally on the edge of falling off. So if this cam falls off, Justin, I'm deleting you from this Zoom.
You should have gotten a magnet. I told him, Jimmy. I told him he should have gotten a magnet. We just put it right on the fridge.
That sounds like a great idea.
I know.
It could work.
I'm full of it. I mean, I'm full of them.
Full of great ideas.
Guy, huh?
So when you are doing this mix in the KitchenAid, are you doing our traditional high hydration mix, going from 5 minutes, and then every minute or whatever we go up another till it gets to 8, and then we just ride or die it?
Yeah, it's similar. I would say that the KitchenAid is a little bit more violent, for lack of a better word.
Less gentle.
Yeah. And so, I think the dough develops quicker than in these spiral mixers, but maybe not in the best way. But, this dough you will get put together probably in 10 or 15 minutes a mix with the KitchenAid, just as long as you're using that cold water. But follow the instructions on the recipe on the site are pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
So as long as you do the cold water, that's the critical thing. Is
my water was not very cold. James, would you be surprised to know that my water was only 62 degrees?
No, that's the 5. You should be going up.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
So let's do this.
It's probably going to take longer to come together, I would think, than if you would use cold water.
But you know what? That is true. But also for me, like you said, I don't. So for this recipe using commercial yeast, my desired dough temperature is between 72 and 74. If it comes out at 80 or 85, I am in big trouble.
Yeah.
This one, I like for it to come out between 80 and 85 because I get more flavor, more color, more aroma. I let the temperature drop from 85 to maybe 78 over the course of a 2-hour bulk. Then I get it into the fridge. The next day, I bring it out. I let it get up to about 60. I ball it. I either use it same day or put it back in the fridge, and the results are just badass.
Yeah. And I think it definitely can handle that higher temperature. And another thing I think we didn't mention is I think the extensibility is much better with our yeast than baker's yeast. So that can be another advantage. It depends on your recipe and what you're trying to achieve. But
yeah. So you know what? I don't understand the science behind it, but here's what I have definitely noticed. So the first Neapolitan and Neo-Neapolitan recipes that we did, we used a straight dough, and we used pretty low hydration, right? 60, 62, and not very high, and also not very extensible. Even though we were using some 00 flour, not very extensible in my book. Once I started using the wild yeast and the sourdough as a poolish, more extensible. Also, I can tell from this dough right here that just using the wild yeast as a straight dough and as a poolish, definitely more extensible.
Yeah.
So, but that could go both ways, right? It could be bad, could be good. You just need to know that that's a feature, right?
Yes, yeah. And I think you would have found with the Neapolitan or the Neo-Neapolitan that made with baker's yeast, it was going to be very stiff too, Yeah. It wasn't going to be very extensible. So I think that's definitely something we've noticed with both products is just the extensibility difference. And for the most part, you still retain that strength, It's just so I find it helpful for me personally, especially when trying to dimple this dough and get it kind of spread out on the parchment. So.
Yeah. So I'm starting to finally see some gluten development right around the breaker bar. You can't see it very well, but I can see it a little better than you. I'm starting to see some very thin strands of gluten and they're stretching and breaking, stretching and breaking. So that's the first sign for me that you're starting to get some real gluten development. The next thing that I'm waiting for is a pop. I just want one pop, like the first pop of a popcorn, right? Right? You put your popcorn in your oil, or you put your popcorn in your magic popcorn maker, and you're waiting. You can smell it, and then you get one pop, and then after that, it's going to be popcorn pretty fast, right? So usually I'm waiting for one pop, one snap. Haven't heard it yet, but I know it's coming. Just so you know, guys, and I was a little more gentle on yesterday's mix. My dough went 5 plus 38. That's 43 minutes, right? And it ended up at 83. I brought out my handy-dandy thermometer, and so just so you know right now, the dough is only at 79 degrees. So I'm looking for 80 to 85, and that's where I want to be. Yesterday I was at 83, so I think by reducing the water temperature down from 74 to 62 made the difference. Right, so a 12-degree difference, right? Usually for every 3 degrees that you drop the water temperature, you drop the final dough temperature by 1 degree, right? Good. So otherwise, I think we would end up over 85 degrees, which is not the end of the world, but I would say I like my sourdough and I like my wild yeast dough to be between 80 and 85. I've gone 90, 93 just to see, but you got to be careful, right? From a scientific standpoint, James, what happens to sourdough when it gets above a certain temperature?
Well, I mean, if you go too high, you're obviously going to wipe out everything.
Well,
So
don't say obviously. I'm asking as a layperson.
yeah,
Like, what temperature is that when you start to like lose microbes?
I don't know when you're going to initially start, but if you're looking at 110 degrees F or 120 degrees F, that's the point where you're going to start to kill stuff off. But it's obviously a continuum where all these organisms have a range in which they really like to operate in, and once you deviate outside of that range, it's not that you kill them all at once, or you slow them all down at once. It's that there's this continuum where some of them are dying off, or some of them aren't operating at the highest level that they could be. So generally we look for 30 to 40 degrees Celsius for
sorry to interrupt. I got a pop.
Nice.
Sorry. I was waiting for that. Just one. And you can kind of see I'm starting to get some slapping in the breaker bar. Just a little bit of slapping. I don't know if you can see it. And maybe just beginning to pull away from the sides. Not really, but just barely you can see it. The bowl is moving at 320 RPM, or at least the hook is. I believe the bowl is at about 1/8 or 1/7 of that. Wow. But don't quote me. I don't want to get in trouble with the Ooni guys. You guys missed me at the Pizza Expo. It was so fun. I had the owner of Ooni there, and I had the guy who designed the mixer at my demo. And I told them that my goal when I was doing the 100% hydration was, number one, to fully develop the dough, and number two, to burn out the motor.
What did he say?
They were laughing because they knew that I couldn't. They knew something I didn't know. I've burned out a few motors in my day. KitchenAids, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Give me like a stiff dough and a high hydration and a high protein flour. I could break that thing in half. I like when you have to put your hand on the top and you're like, it hurts. You have to use a towel. I can get those motors up to probably what 120, 130. Not good. Not good.
I definitely broke my first one.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, I think, no offense. I mean, I love me a KitchenAid, but back in the day, I think they were made to last. Now, I don't know. I mean, I like them because they're bigger than they used to be, right? And I prefer like a 6-quart bowl to a 4.5. Mm-hmm. Do a lot more. Can you see it starting to pull away?
Yes.
So I had a snap before. Now I'm getting a few little pops. So that's good. So Justin,
when you say,
how long have we been mixing for? Go ahead.
When you say pulling away,
Yeah.
You can see the sides. The dough isn't riding the edge as much. You kind of see it looks like a wave.
It looks like a wave. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's like
so
it kind of ebbs and flows like this, and so that means the dough is coming together. Right, Noel? Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, for people who have never been in a bakery or a pizzeria before, I'm never standing watching the mixer. I set a timer, and I pretty much know how long it will take, but I'm listening, right? Or I'll come by every 5 minutes, especially on a high hydration dough, and I'll be looking for things. But mostly I'm listening. Yeah. I'm listening for that first pop. I'm listening for that first slap. That's a good sign. And then you start to get, like right now, you can see that the dough is starting to ride up the hook a little bit. That I don't hear it. I'm starting to get a little bit of slapping. So once you get like a gentle rhythm, then you're looking for syncopation.
There you go. Here come the music metaphors.
As a former musician, I'm looking for syncopation. Something you can play the drums to. Yeah. Maybe a cool bass line.
Yeah,
Just
Jimmy, when you were mixing this in the KitchenAid, you find that little scatta da 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 da.
Yeah, you got to make sure that you have that thing secured. You know.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Lock it down.
Yeah.
Bring out the ratchet straps, right?
Exactly. Or
flying off the. Noel had to. He used to when we used to do that. He would put it on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. So Noel, you're using your 6-inch Cambro today for.
I am, because this dough, because it has so much wild yeast in it can really rise. So when you leave this on the patio, it can get at least to half. And if you're stacking these guys, right, it'll rise almost all the way to the top.
Now, why when you stack them?
Well, because the dough, as you like to say, Justin, is burping and farting.
Yeah.
And so it's releasing the CO2, and usually these don't lock. You never want to lock your dough, right? Like with Tupperware.
But if you put something on top of it,
you're basically locking your dough, and so the CO2 ends up staying inside of the dough and pushing the entire dough ball up. It's not a bad thing, but it's not ideal.
It's. I mean, I definitely realize that when I stack my doughs in my fridge, after I've balled them, the ones on the bottom have risen more than the ones on top. So I usually take the ones on the bottom, I leave them in the fridge, start with the ones on top.
So let me do this. We don't have much time left. I'm going to say less than 10 minutes. So
yeah, we're at about 9 minutes right now.
Good.
On the 320.
Why don't I do this? I think that pan pizza that was too hot to move is probably cooled off a bit, so let me grab it and I'll try to show it to you, all right?
Great. So James, what else are we doing? This is going to be the kind of wrap up of our first round of classes. Can you, it seems like you've been doing a lot of fun stuff on the website. I saw you got the bagel recipe up there too. You want to talk about any of that stuff?
Yeah. Ooh, nice.
I mean, it looks pretty legit to me. Save me some.
Yeah, so we've been working on some recipes on the site, some non-pizza stuff. So maybe everybody out there isn't that interested in that, but we're doing some bagels. So we got the bagel recipe up. That's a really nice New York style bagel recipe. We got the pan pizza recipe up from a few weeks ago. And we'll be putting out some different stuff, some milk bread. I'm working on a milk bread recipe.
Oh, wow.
For sandwich loaf. So we'll have that out and all adapted for the KitchenAid. They won't all have videos, but we're hoping to go back and get some videos up for all those recipes. And then we're going to continue just to work with the product, work through some pre-ferment recipes and
work with our clients. We got a lot of happy clients out there that need just a little bit of expert tutelage, a little bit of science, a little bit of culinary, a little bit of hand-holding.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure.
I enjoy that. Oh boy. Now it's pulling away. Justin, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm watching. All
right, so here's what I'm going to say. Ready?
Talk to me.
What are we at right now minute-wise?
11 minutes, or just under.
All right, when you say 11 minutes, that means we've been mixing at 320 for 11 minutes?
Yes, correct.
So let's see. That means we're at 31 minutes. So I'm going to say this. At 32, at 31, I'm going to make a note. It's pulling. At 32, I'm going to start reducing the Once it pulls away entirely, which is pretty close to doing, I'm going to reduce the RPMs from 320 to 300, dial it down over the course of a minute, and we will be done. Also, just for fun, we're at 82 degrees, and we were shooting for 83, so we nailed that one. How about that?
There we go.
All right, starting to dial down. Beautiful. So here's the thing. Once you get to 100% of gluten development, you really don't want to keep going because then you're going to start to tear the glutens, and that is never a good thing. So it's hard to do with a high hydration dough, but a mixer like this is very powerful. So you want to mix to full gluten development. If anything, I mix to like 95% of gluten development and then finish with a couple of stretch and folds.
That's what we were talking about, everybody. Yeah. So Noel, how fast did you go down there?
So we were at 320 RPMs.
Yeah.
And then over the course of this last minute, we're just dialing it down. We're at 125 right now. I just like to look at it, make sure there's no lumps.
Super smooth, really nice, right?
Yeah. It's very smooth, yeah. What's time, Justin?
I got 12 and a half.
What's the time on the clock?
6:51.
All right.
I can hear your other. There we go.
I know you can.
There we go. I got 12 minutes, 40 seconds on 320.
All right, so we're going to say bulk at 6:51.
6:51, everybody. All right, dun-dun-dun-dun. You said you nailed it. 83, 82?
Yeah, so I'll use my probe thermometer just in case.
Yeah, why don't we just probe it?
82. Hold on. Yeah, 82. So that's great.
Dirty.
So that's exactly where we want to be. So we're only going to be here for another 10 minutes or so, chitting and chatting. What I'd actually like to do, since that other pizza is cool enough, I'm going to grab a handy-dandy spatula, see if I can go around the sides and release it so we can have a look at that.
Great.
I've been working on a bunch of articles with a couple of cool food blogs, and the one that I'm working on this week, we're chronicling 8 different styles of pan pizza and focaccia.
Oh wow!
And one of the questions that I got asked, which is a really awesome question, was that in the Chicago style of, or in the Chicago school of pan pizza, you've got a Chicago deep dish, right? We're not going to talk about the tavern. We're just talking about pan pies, and you've got the stuffed crust, right? Somebody out there in the blogosphere was saying, actually, there's a third type, and he called it the quad. And so the author was saying, is that a third type? And I said, actually, I think I know what you're talking about. There was a place in Morton Grove, Illinois, where my family happens to be from, called Pequods. And I think it probably started in the 1950s, and Bert, who is the head pizza chef at Pequods, started to do something a little bit different with the crust. Instead of making it like a pie crust that was very kind of like pie or casserole kind of like texture-wise.
Flaky-ish, yeah?
Definitely flaky with a lot of oil. He changed 2 things. One, he made it more bready, so he took out some of the oil or butter, right? And also what he did, he started cheesing and saucing to the edge to get a round frico, right? So he ended up working there and then opening his own place called Bert's Place. And I was lucky enough to eat Pequod 30 times in my life, because every year when we would go, that was our neighborhood pizzeria. And I didn't know that I was eating at probably the best, in my opinion, Chicago-style pizzeria in the whole city. In fact, Anthony Bourdain, of all people, I found this out recently, said it's the only Chicago-style pizza he would eat. How about that?
I've got some friends that are Lumos fans that grew up there.
Luminati's, yeah.
Luminati's, yeah.
And you know what? I like Unos. I like it all.
I do too. I mean,
but after you go to Pequods, also I got to say this: the Pequods pans are so old, and there's a little bit of grease and cheese and crust from every
that
pizza
you can never get rid of.
You can never get rid of. And also, I'm like, when I go to a pizzeria like that, I get out of my chair constantly. It drives my wife nuts, drives my family nuts, and I just start walking around talking to people. I talk to the dishwasher, I talk to the pizza guy, I talk to the bartender. I want intel, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking to the dishwasher once, and I was quizzing him about how he washes. He's like, no. they treat it like there's no steel wool. There's not even like a proper sponge. They're just massaging.
Kind of like an oily rag, just gotta.
Yeah. I mean, there's some water involved. I didn't see too much in the way of soap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody heard, but Bay City's Italian Deli.
Yeah, they got shut down again.
I didn't say it. You did.
They're back up now.
Yeah, but some of my favorite places, the way they get that flavor, that texture is like they don't use that much detergent. They don't clean as well as they should. The flavor is in the funk, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's in the roaches.
Justin, you really have a way of turning a phrase.
Is that? I mean, don't go on Reddit and ask why Bay Cities was closed down for the second time. Don't do it.
All right, here's what we're going to do, Justin. I'm going to turn this off.
Okay.
And that bulk fermentation has begun. So you can, if you want, you can turn off that camera. And then
stop that video.
After we're done with class, I'm going to dump it out into this container here. This is my 6-inch tall half pan, right? And I've got a nice olive oil in there. I'm going to do 2 stretch and folds over the course of the next 2 hours.
Great.
All right. So there's 2 things I want to do. We've got about 5 minutes left in this class.
Okay.
I want to see if I can depan. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to see if I can depan that pizza and get it out so we can have a look at it.
Yep.
And then I'll cut open the bread so we can have a look at the crumb.
Do you want to do that in that order?
I do want to do it in that order because the crumb is the easy part. The
That's
hard part is going to be
get the easy part out of the way.
No. Guys, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in a second.
All right, this is it. Like Ez said, get the popcorn out. Let's see. Jimmy, what do you think? You think he can depan that bad mamma jamma?
He's got skills. I think he's got it.
Okay. If anybody wants to take the odds, you can find me on FanDuel. Ooh.
But when Noel gets back, I actually had a question for him with this style. When he uses this for pan pizzas, does he ever par bake? And what would be the advantages of par baking on this style with this dough?
That's a good question. I mean, Noel, for a rule of thumb, he does not like to par bake.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, I think you bring something up. I mean, if you do the par bake, you will be able to maintain the integrity of the structure.
Yes.
I mean, versus all the toppings. I mean, he's got 9 pounds of toppings on there. So I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, but he did do a long, it was a long bake on that. I think it was 20 some minutes on that. So we'll see. We'll see the structure.
Because part of the best part of this recipe is the structure.
Yeah.
So light and bubbly.
That's why it works really. I mean, it works so great with the just on the parchment is the bread. So nice little spatula.
That's what I was looking for. I've got a bunch. I've got really small ones.
Average size.
Really small ones. Well, sometimes these big ones are too big.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I've got a nice little teeny offset jam that works really well. It's so thin.
This release is really nice. So
those Lloyd pans are magic.
The Lloyd pans are magic, but you got to be careful because the anodized aluminum doesn't allow for as long a bake as the steel pans like they use in Chicago at Burt's and Pequod. So I don't know the actual bake time on those pizzas. They will not let me into their kitchens. But I suspect that some of those Chicago deep dishes, they bake for 30 or 40 minutes.
Yeah. Especially those like big Pizzeria Uno or Gino's ones, right?
You bake forever.
Gino's East, that's a deep dish place, right?
For sure.
Chicago style, which I love. And look, guys, you know the deal. I mean, we say pizza always and always pizza. If people get into it, it's casserole, it's this or that. Look, it's friggin' delicious. Now, I can only eat like one slice, but it's still delicious. So don't shame anyone for the pizza style or the pizza topping choice. Don't you do it. Don't be coming up here shaming anybody. It looks pretty darn good. That cheese looks really nice. Is that the provolone that came out really nice and golden?
Both.
Well, because some of them.
I mean, it's thick. It's thick.
Right.
Let's see if I can show you the bottom. Hold on, Justin. Hold on. Let's show you the bottom. A little bit light, but that's how I want it. Because you know what I'm going to do?
You're going to put it back in there.
It's going to go back in the oven for 5 minutes when my wife gets home, and it's going to be Beautiful. So if I
Now,
had left this and not moved it up to the top rack, it might have been a little too dark.
right. So Jimmy had a really good question. Jimmy,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, so Noel, is there any instance which you would par bake this style? Because it's part of the great part about it is the structure of the the bubbly structure of the dough. And if you gave it 5 minutes, let's say, or 7 minutes untopped, and then took it out and then topped it, would would that be something that you would ever do?
It is not anything that I would ever do
Uh-huh.
because I think that it's a hard pizza to make, right?
Yeah.
And I think that par baking is a shortcut, and I understand why people do it for production reasons,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes you get a more open and airy crumb, but I don't think that this style of pizza is about having an open and airy crumb. It's a little more dense, it's a
Mhm.
little more cakey, right? We don't have any oil in the mix, but
Yeah.
when I'm making this style, it's reminiscent of all right. So it's reminiscent of Chicago style pizza. It's
Yeah.
reminiscent of not really Detroit, but maybe a little bit because of the Frico,
Yeah.
right? Um, Also, if you look at some of the Italian styles, like when I went to Sicily for the first time, they have a focaccia there that they call sfincione, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
And it's totally different. They would not put a pound of cheese on it. What they do put though is like a very light amount of tomatoes, maybe some anchovies. Um, Due to let's call it monetary policy because they were so poor for so long, instead of putting cheese, they would put toasted breadcrumbs on top, right? And
Mhm.
so it was very, very, very lightly topped, but the inside was super spongy and thick, and they would mostly eat it. It's like a street food, right? And you would just get a little square of it and walk around and eat it. Uh,
So the follow-up would be then if we don't care that it's light and airy, then why would we use this recipe to create that? Why wouldn't we use something that's lower hydration?
why
What?
wouldn't we?
Yeah, because we're kind of eliminating some of the qualities of this dough by topping it, and not
No,
allowing it to
you're absolutely right. So here's what I would say. I would say that this recipe splits the difference. And so let's do this while we're talking. Let me get a cutting board and let me open up the bread so we can look at what that looks like. And you can see the relatively open and airy crumb. There's
Yeah.
still going to be some big, beautiful pockets of air in this. It's just that the amount of toppings that goes onto this pizza kind of weighs it down. So
Okay.
if I was making this pizza, it would be a lot more like sfincione, and I would use a third of the amount of cheese, half the amount of onions, about the same amount of tomatoes, and it would rise more. This one actually fell while it was cooling, under the
Mm.
weight of the toppings. All right.
Yeah. I think that's, it's deceiving. Like when you're doing Detroit style pizza, for instance, a lot of people want to really push the hydration super high, but then, like Noel says, you will get that the shrinkflation a little bit if especially if you put a bunch of different toppings on it. So I would assume that this one, while having great flavor, it won't have the open crumb structure, and it might almost have like a little bit of a gum line too. Sorry, Noel.
What, you're talking about the Chicago style
No,
pizzas?
I'm talking about the one that you just did.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the gum line is
A lot of people like it. Like, I
nah,
mean,
nah,
look,
nah. Hold on, Justin. Hold on. The gum line is a flaw. All right. Now I've worked for Chicago style pizzerias, and they told me that it's not a flaw, it's a feature.
Mhm.
As soon as I fixed the feature and showed them that there was a flaw, everybody liked it better. How about this? There's a stuffed crust pizza, right, that also has a gum line, and it is like, for me, it's inedible. Right? Some people can't tell the difference between the undercooked crust on the inside and the cheese. That's how bad it is.
Hmm.
All right, so let's do this. Let's have a look at the crumb. All right, so it's not quite as open and airy as it would have been had it not gotten super over fermented. But because I didn't push it down too hard like I would have,
Mm.
Flavor's amazing. Crunch is amazing. Texture's really nice. Super well baked. Really good. So, again, we're used to having a much more open hole structure when we do high hydration dough, but when the dough gets over fermented, you lose a little bit of that crumb, but you get more flavor, right? And you just have to just be super gentle.
Super gentle, yeah.
Yeah. So it would be fun in the future to do some variations on these pan pizzas where we see how the toppings work. Like one of the things they do in Chicago is they do sauce on top because otherwise the cheese will burn, and the sausage will. Everything burns if you leave it in an oven for 40 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny because I'm working with a journalist for Tasting Table, and he came up with 8 styles that he wanted me to help him with, and he keeps saying, is this deep dish? Is this deep dish? Is that deep dish? What makes it deep dish? Is it the pan? Is it the... But what's so funny about deep dish, in my opinion, as somebody who spent most of his life as a tourist, I love deep dish, and I love Pequods, and I love Burt's. I even love Unos and Dues and some of the other ones, but I gotta say, a lot of those places have become super touristy, and the original people that were making those pizzas are long gone. And I think something got lost in translation. And I think that's one of the reasons why most Chicagoans that I know like the tavern style, because there's nothing lost in translation. I wouldn't call it an artisan pizza by any means, but it's very edible. You can crush 2 pies, right, with a couple of pitchers. No problem. I can't eat more than 2 slices of Chicago deep dish, and honestly, I've never even had one of their stuffed crust pizzas. I'm afraid
it's too much. I mean, it's delicious, but it's a lot. It's belly bombs. Belly bombs.
I've been at tables where they ordered them and they cut them open, and I can see that raw layer of dough in the middle, and I'm like, I don't want to eat a raw layer of dough.
No.
One of my friends calls it dough carpaccio. She says it's a feature, not a flaw. You buying that, James? Dough carpaccio?
Al dente pie.
No, not al dente. Literally the opposite. Uncooked dough. She says it's a feature.
Well, some people like it, I guess.
Well, are you gonna cut your deep dish here first?
No.
Come on.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
I'm trying to stay married here, all right?
Everybody wants to see it.
You want to see it, Justin.
I do want to see it.
We'll make it again. Don't worry.
All right.
Also, it's 7:07.
7:07.
We got to start saying some goodbyes. We're going to start losing people.
Yeah, I'm sure we did lose a few people. Jimmy, you want to say your goodbyes? You want to say anything about Leaven? You want to say this is really coming to the end of our little cycle of pizza classes here?
Yeah.
End of round 1. Come on, we got a lot more classes to do.
Yeah, just thanks for everybody for joining along. We're going to try to pump out as much content, recipes, everything that we can. Feel free to email us at the info account. I know a few people on the webinar have really taken advantage of that, and it's been great to talk to everybody, and kind of help them work with the product. I know Mike, for instance, it's been really cool to see what he's been doing, and everybody. So thanks for being engaging and kind of helping us develop the product.
That's great. Noel, we had one more question. Mikey was asking about the old Chicago pizza grinder. They're kind of like pot pie style, where you put it on top and then you dump it out, and it's like, I mean, I've heard, I haven't, I mean, I've seen it. I mean, it's more like a pot pie almost. The original Chicago pizza oven grinder.
I think I ate one once, and it was like 20 below zero, maybe 40 below at the wind chill.
Oh, God.
And it was perfect.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Chicago has the deep dish, because you're literally freezing and you need to give your body sustenance. So
I just don't know that many locals that eat them.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to Pequods or Burt's, you know, and maybe like some of those chains people tell me like, go to this one, not that one. Go to that one, not even like some of the beef dip sandwiches, right? Or the hot dogs, right? There's good ones and bad ones, and I've had them all. The good ones are great, and the bad ones are eh.
So it goes. Noel, say your thank yous to these fine, fine people.
I want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you for taking the time to spend with us on this journey. I got to say one thing that I really like about this, even though it got a little over fermented, is that by handling it so nice and gently, and also I gave it a little extra time in the oven, maybe an extra 5 to 7 minutes. I baked out all the moisture to make sure that it wasn't at all gummy in the middle. And also, James, you know this, sometimes the high hydration doughs, even when they cool off, they're not very crispy, and the inside can be not wet in a bad way, but the crumb is very moist. This is a little bit different, a lot more like the 70% hydration pan pizza that we've been doing, which is super light and airy and crispy, just because we gave it a little extra time and we baked out some of the moisture. So I enjoy when things go wrong in classes, so that I can teach people how to deal with these little, Justin, what do you call them? Variables.
Variables in the pizza equation.
So thank you, everybody. This has been awesome. I'm looking forward to taking a little break from these classes and then coming back strong.
Yep.
Justin, take us out.
Guys, you know the deal. These are crazy times, but we really want to focus on that foundation dough. Whether it be people or pizza, you don't have a solid foundation. How can you build upon it? So remember, please, go make bread, make pizza, make those bagels, and share them with everybody out there. And if you don't know the people, maybe it's actually a bridge to meet some new people, invite them for the pizza and stuff. Because really, as far as I can tell, it's the only thing that matters is getting together, people getting together with other people and spending quality time. So I think in light of everything, let's try to do that and let pizza be inclusive and bring people together versus, whether you like Chicago style or whether you like pineapple on your pizza, let's not, we're not going to shame anybody for their style choices or their topping choices. You know the deal. We do not get into the politics of pepperoni and pineapple. Oh no, here at Slow Rise, we say pizza always and always pizza. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you liked us, give us a thumbs up. Go ahead, prescribe on the YouTube jams. We love you guys. Thank you for hanging out. Pieces and slices. There it is. It's back with love.
Good job, Justin. Good job, James. Thank you, everybody.